Hello. Welcome.
What?
Welcome to the show before the show, but also part of the show. We are here yet again with the unfortunately named program Sucks or Fucks, which I will never
You love
regret.
it, though.
Yeah, I'll never regret that. It's fine. This is the second episode. In case you don't know what the show is, it's a very simple premise. I have to guess if a Magic the Gathering card sucks or if it fucks. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep. We deliver the cards, and Trog delivers the sucking and fucking.
Yeah. Yep. Just for you, ladies and gentlemen. I guess I have my friends Mira and Log here again. They came up with so many cards the first time that we only got through half of them. So...
And after it, I added 2 more.
Oh, perfect. Well, there you go.
Just
so
2.
now, we are
I'm
at
gonna
it
add
again.
one right now.
And we will get through more of them. If you want. You don't have to watch if you don't want to. You can hit the little X in the corner. But without further ado, that's not what it is.
Well, hold on. Let's go back over the ground rules.
Okay,
for those
yeah. That's a
who
good
maybe
idea.
have forgotten or don't know.
That's true. Maybe you haven't seen this program.
So, the cards that we have picked, the criteria for whether they sucks or fucks is based on their playability in competitive 1 versus 1 format. We are not factoring in commander.
No, commander is not a factor
in these cards because that's
there's
a
a lot
whole
of
separate
weird
reality.
shit. Wait, that would be an entirely different show at that point.
And the choices are made based on the impact of the card, just like as on the game as a whole, pretty much. Like, we're not going to be picking up anything that was only relevant in standard in 2015 or anything like that. This is stuff that made like a big wave, or is still relevant today, or
it
just
sucks.
like had an
Or it's
impact for
garbage.
some time,
or it's
It
bad.
sucks.
That's the other side of the coin. The cards are either good or bad, and I am perfectly fine with going along 100% with my friend's judgment on whether or not they believe that the card is good or bad. You'll be happy to know that in between the 2 weeks from last episode and this episode, I have not learned anything about Magic the Gathering. I am still, I would say I am at the same knowledge level as last time. Now, I will say, I did learn some lessons from the last episode, which I will not be soon to forget, and that might give me the competitive edge I need. In fact, do I still have my score here? Okay, so last time's score, last episode, I got 8 right and 7 wrong. Still a win, but not a very convincing win, all right? So hopefully I can take the lessons I learned from the last episode and I can spin that into maybe a more convincing score. For instance, now I will remember that whenever the card doesn't specify it has to be an opponent, you can cast it on yourself. I remember that.
Yep.
So, you know.
Yeah, you'll never forget that.
I will not ever forget that mechanic now. So, you know, maybe I'll be too good this time.
Maybe.
Hell yeah.
But I will reset the score for a new episode. So, well, no, not 70. All right. Without further ado, let's go. Hit me with the first.
Further ado.
Yeah, without further
All right.
ado.
All right, I got the first one. The first unchosen one on the list here.
Yep. All right. Let me remember how I was getting these onto the page. Did I do it this way? All right, that worked. Alrighty. So we have Kozilek the Great Distortion, That's a kind of an interesting name. When you cast Kozilek, I should say he is an 8 mana. Okay, so 8 mana and 2 colorless. Does that mean that you specifically need like a colorless land, or does that mean anything?
This is the nature of Eldrazi cards. They specifically call for colorless mana as part of their casting cost sometimes.
I see.
So that's what the diamond is. It's specifically colorless.
Okay, so you can't. All right, so you need a land that produces colorless mana. Gotcha.
Yeah, you couldn't cast this with 10 red. You could cast it with 8 red and 2 colorless.
Gotcha. All right, so it's 8 generic, 2 colorless, legendary creature Eldrazi. I am familiar with the Eldrazi's. I know that's like Ulamog and shit, the big guys.
This guy's one of the big 3.
Right. So, when you cast Kozilek, the Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Pretty good so far. Menace, which is... it must be blocked by 2 or more creatures, right? That's,
Yes.
If you choose to block him, you must block with 2 or more. Discard a card with converted mana cost X, counter target spell with converted mana cost X. And he's a 12/12. So, my first thought, and maybe this is one of the few times where my existing knowledge of... my very, very small existing knowledge of Magic cards might give me the edge here. Because I do know about the other Eldrazi. I don't know the specifics, but the one I'm thinking of is like, when you cast it, you just get another turn, right?
Yeah,
there's one of those.
Yeah.
And I think that one also has like Annihilator 7 or something, where it attacks and you have to like, just like the other guy just has to destroy 4 of his cards.
You're thinking of Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. And
Okay.
Yeah, Emrakul is a 15 mana creature, and it does that stuff that you specify.
Right. So I do know that one. So that's making me think, okay, so number one, if this guy is costing 10, you're never gonna cast this guy legitimately, right? It's always, you're gonna find a way to cheat him out. And comparing him to the other guy that it's like, take a free turn and just like screw your opponent over irrevocably anytime he attacks, this just doesn't seem as good, to be honest. I mean, drawing 7 is really good, but Menace is okay, but the discarding a card to counter is like, you are spending something, and you do have to have a card in your hand with the converted mana cost. Like the exact, it doesn't even say that you can do like more. Like it has to be, if they do a 2-cost spell, you gotta have a 2-cost spell in your hand. So to be honest, I'm gonna say on this one, I'm gonna say sucks. Not sucks in a vacuum, but sucks compared to the other Eldrazi that I know of. And if you're gonna cheat a guy out, why wouldn't you cheat the best guy out possible instead of this guy? So I'm gonna go with sucks. I'm locking in with sucks.
All right, and yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
This is a sucks.
Wait, I have
this is
a
a
video.
sucks card.
There we go. I had to find it.
Yep, that's what happened to Kozilek. So yeah, there are 3 Eldrazi Titans, and each Eldrazi Titan has 3 different cards. This is so like, there's 3 from Zendikar, there's 3 from Oath of the Gatewatch, and there's 3 from Modern Horizons 3. Kozilek, the Great Distortion, is probably the weakest of the 9 cards.
Wow.
So
yeah,
there's some things that you are wrong on here. Is that if you notice, it says when you cast Kozilek, you do the effect. So cheating out Eldrazi Titans isn't actually like the normal thing. The thing is that building a lot of colorless mana is way more achievable than getting a lot of any other color of mana.
Okay.
Specifically in modern and older formats, you have multiple lands that can tap for 2 or more colorless mana.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
And so
there's
you
also
can...
like, there's a land that says like your Eldrazi spells are 2 cheaper.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so there's stuff like that that lets you achieve the casting costs for Eldrazi Titans specifically way easier than anything else. So casting this for 10 mana isn't like out of the question. It's just that, yeah, this is the weakest effect. Like, drawing the cards is good, but for 10 mana, you can cast Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, which its cast trigger is to exile 2 permanents, and it hits the field, and it says whenever it attacks, exile half your opponent's library.
Right, okay. I know that. I knew that one's name, but I couldn't remember what it did. But
And then there's Emrakul, where it's like, all right, you cast this Emrakul, you get an extra turn. You cast this Emrakul, you take control of your opponent during their turn.
oh yeah, I've heard of that one too.
You cast this Emrakul, you take all your opponent's creatures.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, comparatively, the effects are so strong that including this one in your deck is just like, it's a waste.
Right. That's basically that lines up with my thought. Is like, it doesn't seem that strong for the amount of mana that it costs, really. Like, if the difference is between this and a card that basically is just gonna make the opponent scoop as soon as you cast it, like, why even bother with this guy?
Yup. Be much.
All right. Well, there we go. 1 in the bucket. Looking good so far. Hit me with another one.
Let me see here. Yeah, we'll go with this one.
Oh yeah, Ulamog was exiled 20 cards from the library. That's actually better than half your library because it's not like an exponential thing.
Yeah. It's not
Alrighty.
relative to the
Well,
size of the
another
deck.
one that is not going to fit well into where
It'll fit fine.
It will.
It's
It's
the
just
same
going to be
size
kind
as
of
a
hard to
standard card.
read.
Turn your head, everybody.
Here, let me.
Welcome to Fire Ice.
I'll spin this one. All right, Fire and Ice. If I remember correctly, whenever the card is like this, it means you can literally just cast either one at will, right? Like,
There's a couple different types of split cards like this. Some of them you can either go either or. Some of them you can cast both of them at the same time if you want. Some of them you have to cast one side first and then you can cast the other side from your graveyard. It'll usually say on the card, but for this one, yeah, it's an either or. You either get fire or you get ice.
Okay, so this card is Fire or Ice. The Fire side is 1 generic, 1 red. It's an instant, deals 2 damage, divided as you choose. Pretty self-explanatory. And Ice, 1 colorless, 1 blue. Another instant, tap target permanent, draw a card. Okay, I mean, there's a bit of a power downgrade from the last card, but it makes sense because it doesn't cost that much. Does this card suck? I can't... this is a tough one because I am having trouble deciding. I think there's no way this card can truly fuck or suck, really. I mean, it's hard to imagine a world where this card is, like, broken or bad just because it seems so, I guess, just... I wouldn't say it doesn't do anything, but it does very little. I guess being able to choose between the 2 modes is nice, but you would also have to be running a deck that has both red and blue mana, which isn't... I mean, I'm pretty sure red-blue is a pretty common combination. I believe there have been several decks in the past that are red-blue. But it is kind of just... well, the fire side seems pretty bad for 2 mana compared to, like, Lightning Bolt or whatever, right? That's 1 mana
Lightning
for 3.
Bolt is kind of a special rate now. It's like a grandfathered in rate.
Okay.
A single red mana for 3 damage. They don't really do that anymore.
Oh, okay. So that's like, that's on the good side.
The current modern times rate for 2 damage to any target is a single red mana.
Okay. So you're basically paying an extra mana to be able to divide it, which I guess could have some niche applications, but not... I wouldn't imagine it being a... If you're casting this on turn 2, how many targets are you gonna have? I guess if they go, you go, they go, you go, now you have 2 mana, they might have 2 1-drop, or a 1-drop and a 2-drop creature, potentially. The tap target permanent doesn't seem very good to me. I mean, I guess 2 mana to draw a card, but isn't there better rates for that? I think I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that this card sucks, and I even think maybe that's maybe too harsh of a word, because it doesn't seem terrible, but I don't really see it being something that you would run over potentially a better version of each of the individual cards. Like, if you really were struggling for deck space and you're like, gosh, I can't decide between 2 damage or tapping a permanent and drawing a card. Oh, lucky me, there's a card that does both of those. But that seems like a pretty corner case. I'm gonna lock in sucks on this one.
All right. Well, yep.
No.
50% is a force 50. All right.
Fire Ice is awesome, bro. The versatility. You have a burn spell. You could either use this shit to get rid of 2 1/1s, or check this out. Here's what you didn't consider. Turn 1, you're on the play. You play your land. You do your turn 1 play. Whatever. You pass. They play their turn. They play a land. Blah blah blah. They do their turn 1. Blah. They pass back to you. You put down your second land. You pass to them. In their upkeep, you cast Ice to tap their only land, and you draw an extra card. And now they're on their turn 2 with 1 land, and you just shit all over their turn 2.
It's a good point.
It can be a really big tempo steal, especially if you are going first. Like, it just really slows down your opponent to ice them on their turn 2. Because if you use it in their upkeep, like, you can tap lands in response to things being cast. If you use it in their upkeep, you lose the mana as it moves into your main phase.
Oh.
So it cuts off the point at which they can actually have 2 mana.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't even think about that.
So that is kind of like the primary application of it in modern times, because this fits really well into Cascade decks.
Noticing a theme with with Cascade being a good mechanic.
So the interesting aspect of these split cards is that while you are casting them, each side is 2 mana. It's a 2 mana spell.
But you
while
can
they are
pick
in
which
your
one.
deck or in your graveyard, they are a 4 mana spell.
Oh.
So whenever all your Cascade cards are 3 mana, and it's going through your deck looking for something cheaper than 3 mana, Fire and Ice is a 4 mana spell, so it skips over it. It's a removal spell. It's a removal spell and a tempo control spell that you can safely put in there without fucking everything up.
I did think I legitimately did think about that. It was like, okay, how does this work with Cascade? Because there was like 4 Cascade cards in the last episode.
Yeah.
But it is very strange that that's how they decided the rules are, is that it just adds all the numbers up, but only when it's in your deck.
Yeah, I think they like changed their minds on this a couple times, but this is kind of how it is now, is that it considers both sides of the card as long as it is a card. So in your graveyard, it's 4 mana. In your library, it's 4 mana. In your hand, it's 4 mana.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There are other niche applications for that, like you could discard it to Kozilek to counter a 4 mana spell. But
great, yeah.
The main thing is that it's something that counts as a higher than 2 mana value spell that you can cast for 2 mana.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I honestly, I completely missed that because normally most cards would say non-land permanent, and I did not even catch that this one did not mention non-land, and I did not even think about that. Also, I didn't know about the whole mana fizzling thing, so...
Yeah, whenever somebody does it to you for the first time, then you realize the evil in this world.
Then you will know.
Gotcha. Okay, well, hey, 1 for 1. We're keeping it even. We're keeping it interesting. Go ahead and throw another one at me.
Go ahead, Luck.
All right, let me just go down the list. All right, here, take a look at this one.
Alrighty. Let me get that on the screen. Flip this guy back upright. Here we go. We have Nourishing Shoal, which is X generic and 2 green, instant, arcane. Is that important that I know what that is? I've never seen that one before.
Arcane is not important. It's kind of a failed mechanic.
Really important.
Okay, so that doesn't matter.
Just some weird Kamigawa shit. Don't worry about it.
It's an instant. You may remove a green card with converted mana cost X in your hand from the game rather than pay... Well, this must be an old card if it's saying remove from the game rather than exile, but...
Yeah, it's Kamigawa.
Okay.
It's like 2002,
2005 or so. Something like
Okay.
that.
So you remove a green card with converted mana cost X in your hand from the game rather than pay the mana cost. You gain X life. Life gain I thought was more like a white thing. I guess green does it a little bit too.
Green does it sometimes too. It's in there.
White. It's usually white green is the life gain combo.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Archetype. If
Well-
life gain is a thing in draft, then it's white green.
So my first thought with that is that life gain is generally not very good. Not coming from a Magic perspective, but just thinking about card games in general that I kind of know of. Generally, life gain is not super impactful. At least in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's pretty dog water unless you're specifically dealing with like the metagame aspect of how the time rules work, where it's like if you run out of time and you have more life than the other person, you just win. Like you don't actually play it out to the end of the game. But so you're basically like minus twoing, or at least minus oneing yourself to gain life, or you're just spending a bunch of mana to gain life. Yeah, this one seems pretty cut and dry to me. I'm gonna say this. Well, okay, hold on. Before I lock in, let me, because I've screwed myself over before thinking not hard enough. So let me really analyze this. Is there any way you could benefit from exiling cards? That doesn't really seem to happen in Magic very often. There's not, when your shit gets exiled in Magic, like it's gone. Like
It's
you can't,
usually there forever. There's
you're not getting it back.
very few things that pull from exile.
Right.
They exist, but there's very few
Okay,
of them.
my
Yeah,
next-
it's mostly just a empty space. It's not the banished pile of Yu-Gi-Oh. It is
Exactly.
out
It's
of
not
there.
a
It's
second,
not a second graveyard.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gone.
actually just removed from the game. So that's probably not super relevant. So that basically is just a strict downside, because I can't imagine paying one mana per one life. There has to be cards that give you a better value on that prospect if you really want to gain life. And also, it has to be from your hand, so you can't even like, I would say like perhaps if you could remove something that you already had as a permanent, maybe you could like use this as a weird way to like get last second value out of something that was going to be removed. But even then, you'd be paying 2 mana for that, which doesn't seem very good either. Now, my next thought is this useful in a Cascade deck in any way? How do X symbols work in Cascade? Would this count as a
X
2?
counts as
Always
0.
It counts as
unless
0.
it's-
Okay, so this
when
is
it's
2.
on the stack, it's being paid, and yeah, then it's changed. But in any other zone, it's always 0.
Okay, so all right, good to know. I don't think it's relevant for Cascade. I don't think green is the Cascade. Or no, wait, isn't that? Whatever. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, green is a
I'm not gonna
cascade
think about
color. Every
Yeah.
color is a cascade color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Upon doing a second pass over of what I can only assume is all the relevant text on this card, I'm going to say this card sucks because I think life gain probably sucks. Like, compared to other strategies you could run, I'm going to say life gain is not very good, and the fact that you either have to pay a bunch of mana or -1 yourself is just not useful. Maybe if it sent it to the graveyard and then you could like do some graveyard shenanigans, but remove from the game, like that's the most -1 of any -1 you could have. I'm gonna lock in. This card sucks.
Your reasoning is sound, but this card is actually fucking.
No, that I can't believe that. In what fucking world? How
this
could this
gives
card be
us-
good?
This gives us an opportunity to introduce you to one of the most fuckingest cards in Magic history.
Oh, you
And-
this is a trick. You've tricked me.
So the reason that Nourishing Shoal is useful is because, yeah, you're right. Small amounts of life gain are not very good. Large amounts of life gain that you have to pay for are not very good. But if you can get large amounts of life gain for free,
Which this
and
is
all it
basically
costs
free.
is the cards in your hand, then you've got something that
one
pairs
guy that
very
works really
well,
well.
with our good friend Gristlebrand.
Alrighty,
Which I have
alrighty. Hold
linked
on.
in
Yeah, go ahead and look at that guy.
1 second. Let's pull this guy up. Fucking supplementary material over here. I was not told this was gonna be on the test. Alright. Gristlebrand is 4 generic, 4 black, legendary creature demon, flying, lifelink, pay 7. Alright. Fuck. Come on.
Yeah,
Pay 7
so,
life, draw 7 cards.
So this guy is an all-time classic.
Alright,
He kinda
alright.
shows up everywhere because paying 7 life for 7 cards is broken, and
free.
there's lots of different ways to get a Gristlebrand onto the field at a reasonable amount of time. The way that it works with Nourishing Shoal, it's a extremely all-in combo, but even now, after Modern Horizons 3 has come out, it's still one of the fastest ways to win in Modern, is using cards that sacrifice creatures to search your deck for creatures with higher mana value and put them onto the field. Do that on turn 2 to get a Gristlebrand onto the field.
Wait,
Draw
you can
7
jump from
cards.
2 mana to 8 mana? Just
So
like
here,
that?
let me get you use your other supplemental
Oh my
material.
god. I'm gonna need more image sources in OBS.
You're gonna learn the whole deck.
All right. So here's another friend of Gristlebrand. It's called Allosaurus Rider.
Alright. Hold on, let me add another image.
And then this is the thing that makes them best friends.
Oh,
Alright, hold on. What do we got here? We got Allosaurus Rider, 5 mana, or 5 generic, 2 green, Elf Warrior. Well, that looks like a dinosaur to me, but whatever. I guess it's the
riding a
rider, not the
dinosaur.
dinosaur.
They
may
couldn't come up
exile-
with 3 creature types back then.
Exile 2 green from your hand rather than pay the cost. Okay. Allosaurus power and toughness are each equal to 1 plus the number of lands you control. And then I'm assuming that so this is 7 mana, so there's probably some card that says like, give it.
I put it in the
The other
chat.
one says sack a guy.
This is the final
Sack a guy.
piece.
Go find a creature with the CMC equal to the guy you sacked +1. So you sack a 7-drop, you get to go find an 8-drop.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so this is basically
is that
a whole
Rider card old? Because it feels like they maybe
the
wouldn't
Rider
print
card is
cards
old.
nowadays
2014.
that says like play this fucking 7 mana guy for free on turn 1 or whatever.
Let me tell you about a little
the
guy
Rider
called
card.
Grief.
Yeah, the Rider card
they
came
banned
from
him,
Cold
right?
Snap.
Yes.
Allosaurus Rider came from Cold Snap. Cold Snap came out in 2006. Cold Snap was filled with cards that you could cast for free.
Okay. All right. Well, this feels a little bit like I was not told that this was going to be on the test, but
Yeah, it's a bit of a trick, but I couldn't show you Gristlebrand because it's too obvious. So
Yeah,
Okay.
pay 7 life, draw 7 cards is a bit too easy.
yeah, that one I probably would have
Yeah,
sussed out pretty easily.
yeah, I wanted to give a little lesson. And these Kamigawa cards, so these Shoal cards, it's actually a cycle from Kamigawa. There's one for each different color, and they are all like surprisingly powerful. Nourishing Shoal is a good combo piece. The red one is actually banned from Modern because
Wow.
it lets you instantly kill people. The black one and the blue one are okay. They're the most niche of the 5. And then the white one was something like exile a white card from your hand and prevent prevent X damage equal to that mana value. And like, what did it actually
That doesn't
say?
seem good. That one I
So-
think would've been-
Cycles are usually pretty like, lightning
Right.
bolt, right?
Yeah.
That's a cycle. That's a
Oh.
cycle.
What
The
is
lightning bolt was 1 red for 3 damage, instant speed. Blue is 1 mana, draw 3 cards. Ancestral Vision, or Ancestral Recall rather, one of the best spells ever. And then white got Healing Salve. 1 white, gain 3 life.
Of course.
Yeah,
Terrible.
so the white version of the Shoals was actually really good for a while because this is what it said. It said prevent X damage and redirect it to basically wherever you want. So there were hello?
Yeah.
What?
Can you hear me?
For some reason the stream cut out for me, so
Uh-oh.
I was confused. So basically, like, people were playing white decks with small creatures, and they would have basically these big mana value things that had free value that you could then exile to Shining Shoal to whenever somebody tried to kill your little dudes, they would just exile a big thing in their hand to Shining Shoal and redirect all that damage to their opponent. And then because they were an aggro deck, they would just like get to kill them afterwards.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So basically, Shoal cards, pretty fucked up. As most cards that you can cast for free are.
Yeah, I was about to say, it really seems like there's definitely... I mean, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! Where every card is either free or essentially free, and the cards that aren't free are bad, it's almost an inversion in Magic where a card doesn't have to be free to be good, but if it is free, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much.
All right. Well, whenever we do the opposite side and I make you guys get a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I'm going to throw in some fucking random card that's like a middle piece of a combo deck and be like, actually, it's good because of these 7 other cards that you don't know exists.
Yeah.
Here, I'll tee this one up for you. Put this one on screen.
All right. Let's see. Let's see here. Oh, now I have too many images, and oh, there we go. I figured it out. We have Battle of Wits, 3 generic, 2 blue, enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game. Okay.
Easy.
Well, now I feel like I might be getting baited here. There is no mechanic in Magic the Gathering that I know of that can add cards to your deck from outside of the game, but
at best,
technically that effect does exist. I will tell you that.
Okay, that's fair.
You're not going to be tripling the size of your deck.
Right,
though.
Okay, that's what I was, because is there not an upper limit to the number of cards you can have in Magic?
No.
As long as you can shuffle it by yourself.
I didn't know
As long as you can
that.
shuffle it by yourself.
We haven't had
no limit.
We
haven't had your Yu-Gi-Oh
gangster.
moment. You haven't had your
We haven't
2000
had a Yu-Gi-Oh gangster problem.
What is it? 2,222 card deck where they. Okay, hold on. I gotta.
That's why the rule is there's no size limit as long as you can shuffle it unassisted.
I have to see if I can find the picture. If we're gonna talk about deck sizes, then I gotta show in case. I'm sure anybody that knows even like a passing interest in like weird Yu-Gi-Oh facts and like funny stuff probably already knows this. But in case you don't already know, there is a reason why the deck limit in Yu-Gi-Oh is 60 cards. And that is because of these gentlemen right here. I believe it was in like Germany or some European tournament. I'm probably going to get the minute details of this story wrong, so apologies if this is like a game of telephone. But from my understanding, one of these gentlemen here was a judge and knew that not having a deck size limit for this game was a bad idea. And in order to prove that, they showed up to a tournament with a, I believe, 2,222 card deck in which almost every single card was a deck, or was a card that searches your deck and forces you to shuffle your deck afterwards, and just entered a tournament with this monstrosity and forced people to play against him, and it was the worst thing ever. And I'm pretty sure Konami then made a rule that you could only have 60 cards in your deck after that.
Did they not have like slow play warnings and shit?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's a thing. I do not know the details
A lot of the
of
Japanese
this.
card games are like weird with the rules they do enforce, though.
Yeah.
I know about the North-South rule of Pokemon.
What is
That's
that?
all I know. In Pokemon card game tournaments, you are supposed to have your deck facing, basically positioned vertical on your mat, not to the side or angled. And what my friend was telling me is that like there was a tournament that he played in where if your deck was not like vertically aligned properly, the judges would just like walk by and say north south
What the hell?
because they wanted you to adjust it.
Well,
That's fucking wild.
you know what? I was also going to bring up a card that is kind of about this situation, but I just realized that it would probably be a good card for when I do the opposite. So I'm not going to tell you guys about it, and you're just going to have to remember that this happened at some point.
Alrighty.
Anyway, back to the question at hand here. Small aside over. So
Small
this
sidebar.
card seems like it's probably dog shit, because when are you gonna have 200 fucking cards in your like? Okay, best possible case scenario I can come up with for this card. Turn 1, I'm gonna make up cards that probably don't exist. Turn 1, there's some 1 mana card that searches this card so that you already have it. Turns 2 through 5, you don't die, and then turn 5, you play this card and win, which I guess would require you to have a
Wrong.
206 card deck. Oh, and you have to live until your next upkeep as well. I guess it's an
you
enchantment,
go.
so you could play it earlier and then just wait if you could cheat it out. But even then, 200
Wait
cards.
for more cards to appear in your deck.
Right. Well, okay. Well, you know what I mean. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this card sucks. Maybe there's a silly combo that, but I can't imagine that this is more than like your run-of-the-mill gimmick win kind of card. Yu-Gi-Oh has a bunch of those where it's like, it's a funny thing, and it's like, yeah, maybe somebody will pull this off every once in a while, but they don't actually expect you to use it to win a real competitive game. I'm gonna say sucks. Lock in.
Yeah, Battle of Wits is a joke.
Okay.
There's no way that Battle of Wits
Yeah.
can be good.
Yeah, that I was pretty sure.
So it does see play.
Where?
It does see competitive play, but it sees play as like basically a charity deck. That in
Yeah.
modern tournaments, people will have like basically charity auctions to have people donate to include a card in a Battle of Wits deck. And then they will
Oh.
bring the finished Battle of Wits deck to the tournament and just see what happens.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, Battle of Wits sucks. This card is dog
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
It is just-
200
it is
cards
like-
is a lot.
that's it.
Now, here's the thing that's even crazier, right? Is that in Magic, they actually let you mulligan. So, like, theoretically, even if you have 200 cards, you could have another chance of drawing a good hand. If this shit was in Yu-Gi-Oh, you fucking draw your hand and then you just shake the opponent's hand and you walk away. You're like, okay, well, I didn't
Yeah.
draw anything. Bye.
Yeah, I mean,
is there not an enchantment searching combo for this? It doesn't matter if there's a combo for it or not, because you're ruining your fucking deck.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can
It's-
only have 4
Magic
copies
is a game about
of anything.
consistency. You want your 60 cards so that you have consistent access to like the options that you need. Having a 200 card deck is shooting yourself in the foot just to play
Even-
this garbage.
even if you could have an extra deck that was just 1 copy of Battle of Wits, it still wouldn't be good enough because you probably would not be able to survive the turns necessary to play it. And if you did, your opponent has 1 turn to destroy it before
Right.
it actually wins you
Yeah,
the game.
It doesn't
that's
even
the
win it
cherry on top.
instantly.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you cheat it out, because you have to make it to your next fucking turn anyways. You play this, you pass your opponent, you're sitting there with your arms crossed, sitting smugly with your fucking Leaning Tower of Pisa deck. You're like, huh, what you gonna do, bitch? And then you go, okay, disenchant, pass.
Yeah. Well, then you just have to
You're like,
find one
oh,
of your
fuck.
other 3 Battle of Wits and then hope
Yeah.
for the best. Hope
And
that
then
you
pass
still
again
have
and
200
hope it doesn't
cards.
happen again.
I think it's funny that you have to have a minimum of 207 cards in your deck because you're drawing 7 to start the game, so you have to have another 200 in the deck after that. So even if you
Mhm,
can get
gotta
it out
figure a
on
way to
turn
get 'em
1.
back in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that card sucks. What about the
Yup.
next card?
Go for it, Log.
All right, where do I have it? Here it is.
Alrighty. We have a new card. Oh, a cheap little guy. Oh my god, I have too many pictures. I gotta come up with a better system for this. Alright, here we go. we have Merchant's Dockhand, a 1-mana artifact creature construct for 3 generic and 1 blue, and tap X untapped artifacts you control. Look at the top X cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So basically that's that's similar to Scry, right? Isn't that basically the same kind of...
Scry doesn't draw you a card.
Oh, that one
This
just
puts a card
lets
in
you
your hand.
look. Okay, so this one... Okay. Tap X, untap. So you do have to tap the artifacts, and you have to tap this guy, so you can only use it once.
And you have to pay 4.
And you have to pay 4. That... At first glance, to me, that reads as kind of a lot of trouble to do, to basically... I mean, even if you, like... If you tapped one untapped artifact, which can't be Merchant's Dockhand because you have to tap it to even do it in the first place, then you draw 1 for 4. Even if you were if you were tapping, like, I don't know, I know that there are a lot of artifacts, and I know that there are decks that are entirely revolve around just having a lot of artifacts. So let's say you tap 5, you do get to pick 1 card out of 5, which is pretty good, but paying 4 for that, I mean, I guess that means that at the minimum, unless you're doing something silly with your mana, you're not going to be able to do this until turn 5? Because you got to pay, well, no, I guess turn 4, you'd play this earlier, but you do need 4 mana, need a bunch of artifacts. To me, this seems like it would be too slow to be impactful unless there's something that would benefit you for having tapped artifacts, is the thing I'm thinking of, which I don't know if that exists and would be the linchpin of whether or not this card may be good or bad if something like that does exist. So I'm kind of just taking a shot in the dark. I think well, I say I should go with my gut, but going with my gut has only netted me a 50% success rate, which is not even a C+. But I'm gonna say this... Yeah, okay, I'm gonna say this card sucks. I'm not locking in yet. Hold on. I'm gonna say this card sucks because it seems expensive to draw 1 card. I've already seen cards that draw you way more cards for way less. And it seems to me... I mean, you also have to put the rest of them on the bottom, which might be bad, theoretically. Like, if you want 2 of the cards and you can only pick 1 of them. Yeah, I'm going to say this card sucks. I'm going to say it sucks because it costs too much to draw 1 card. Lock in.
Yeah,
Yup.
this sucks.
Okay. Whew. All right, we're good.
Merchant's Dockhand is very close. Like, it's almost a good card because, yeah, there's a lot of decks that can just make a bunch of artifacts, and like that's kind of a pastime of Magic, is just having a bunch of shitty artifacts that
They're making a new
scattered.
kind of toy artifact like every set. You got
Right,
food,
right.
you got treasure, you got clues, you got fucking... there's probably more that I can't even remember.
Blood.
Yep, that's another one. There's so many... They're
Yeah.
constantly making new toys to put on the field.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. The problem is mostly just if you are playing the make a bunch of artifacts deck, you don't like to have to pay 4 mana to do an effect.
Right.
It's a bit too slow. Having to tap it is a bit too slow because, like, if you draw this late, if you fetch it out late, you would want to probably activate it immediately, but you can't.
But you can't because it's a creature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, being able to look at a bunch of cards and pick the best one it's a very strong effect. It doesn't really matter if the rest go on the bottom of your library, because you get to choose the one that you get.
And you're putting the shit ones on the bottom, so you never get them again.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a strong filtering effect. It gets rid of lands and stuff, but it's just you can't do it fast enough to have it really be impactful.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. Whenever I saw the 4 mana, I was like, that just seems too expensive for something that only draws you 1 card. Also, I figure if you're if you're tapping a bunch of untapped artifacts, the effect that you're tapping them for has to be better than the effect you would get from tapping all those artifacts, like, just by default. Which, drawing a single card does not seem worth it. I mean I only know some of the artifacts, but, like, Treasure gives you a mana, and doesn't food, like, heal you or something? Like,
yeah, I mean, I would tap food for other effects all day. Like, I don't care about my food. You have to pay mana
with food. It's not free.
Okay. Gotcha.
You can't eat food for free. You have to pay for your dinner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I included this one because I remembered reading posts about how somebody said that they did some Wall Street bets shit on Merchant's Dockhand whenever it was coming out. And they paid a good $5 a piece for these guys.
Whoa.
And
that seems like a bad investment.
They did not matter. They did not
really
have
somebody saw this card and was like, this is gonna be broken.
I mean it's close. It's close. Like,
that's
especially
crazy.
like a 2017 era.
You have to realize that I'm comparing this to Gristlebrand in my head right now, and I'm like, there's no fucking way this card is good.
I mean, it's just a whole different world that these two guys occupy.
Modern Magic design mistakes and ancient Magic design mistakes are very different flavors of dinosaur. They're both dinosaurs, but they're different.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. All right.
Anywho.
It's like Michael Jordan versus Oppenheimer.
Yeah, exactly. Check this out.
Alrighty. We have...
I think this is the last one that I submitted. I think the rest of them are all logs.
Let's pull this sucker up. We have Show and Tell. Old card. Recognize it from the border that it's old. Keeping that in mind, it's 2 generic and 1 blue. Sorcery. Each player may choose an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card in his or her hand and put that permanent into play. This card is broken. I'm locking in. I don't even need fucking anything else. It doesn't matter. I see, play a card in your hand for free for 3 mana. There is no fucking way on God's green earth this is not a good card. I know enough about Magic now. It's easy. Easy slam dunk for me. +1 point. Thank you. Come again.
Yep. Yeah, you remember Grizzlebrand from earlier?
Yeah, exactly.
This is how you get him out. This is how you get him out.
You build a show and tell deck filled with every NBA All-Star team in your library, and you're just waiting to see which one you put on the field.
I will say it is very funny that it also, I'm assuming the thought, because this is an old card. Does it say what year it was on this webpage anywhere?
Probably 1998, because that's the
so this is a pre 9/11 Magic card, and I'm guessing their thought process was, well, watch out because your opponent can also put anything they want. And maybe at the time it wasn't...
Yeah, 1998.
Yeah, maybe at the time that wasn't as big of a deal, but it seems like to me, if you just stuff your deck full of things that win you the game when you play them and your opponent isn't playing the deck that plays a bunch of win conditions. Yeah, this seems like... this seems pretty bad. This is a very funny card to exist. This seems I
will say they
extremely broken.
They did make a post 9/11 version of this card.
Is it also good, or wait? Am I supposed to guess about this one, or is this just this is bonus material?
This is just
bonus material.
Curricular.
They made a post. Made a post 9/11 version of Show and Tell, and it's called Hypergenesis.
I see. I can read this one out. This is Hypergenesis. It's green. It's got no mana symbols, which is weird. It also tells you it's green, which is also weird because the card is physically green.
Because the colors of the mana symbols is what determines the color of the card. So if it doesn't have those mana symbols, it would just be colorless. So they have to specify that it's green to make it a green card.
Suspend 3, you're gonna have to explain that one to me too. I don't know what suspend means.
You pay 3, you exile it, and the 3 is how many counters you put on it. You exile it, you put 3 counters on it. You pass a turn, you remove a counter. When all the counters are removed, you cast it.
So you're basically playing this, waiting 3 turns, and then getting it. Starting with you, each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card. Repeat until... Wait, okay, hold on. Repeat this process until no one puts a card into play, so you just go back and forth with your opponent, just, like, playing shit for free?
Yep.
Okay.
And this is actually a modern version of Eureka. It's not show and tell. This is a different card, Eureka. Look at the card art for Eureka, please.
All right, I will. You know what? I will. Hold on.
Do you need? Let me get the actual Scryfall link.
Oh, it's okay. I got
there you go.
This, I think.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I have it. I tried to save it. I don't know where it went. Hold on. Wait. There we go. Look at this guy. This isn't like joke art. This is just what they made the card in the first place.
Yeah, this is what they would do in 1994.
So this is basically the same thing as show and tell, except you just take turns playing back and forth.
You keep going.
You keep going.
You keep going until someone doesn't.
I'm gonna guess this Hypergenesis card is broken because you can cascade into it. Am I correct?
Yes, you do cascade into it, and then you start playing.
Does it not? It doesn't have the suspend counters if you cascade into it.
You just
play it.
You just hit a 0 mana spell.
Suspend is an activated ability that says when you remove the last counter, cast this card. You can't just cast it because it doesn't have a mana cost. You can't. If it had a mana cost of 0, you could legally cast it, but it doesn't have a mana cost, so you just you can't cast it from your hand. You have to use the ability. Cascade uses a very similar card. Well, a very similar, quote unquote. It uses suspend. You hit the nail on the head, making that connection. Crashing Footfalls. It's the same thing, but it's 1 green, suspend 4, make 2 4/4 rhinos with trample.
I've heard of the rhinos. I remember because that deck was one of the relevant ones when I was like buying Magic cards physically. Like when I tried to know anything about the modern meta, it was like that one, the Hammer one, and the Amulet Titan. I think that was another one, right?
Amulet Titan. I love that deck.
That in case anybody in chat actually knows anything about Magic, that's basically the extent of my modern knowledge is those 3 decks, because those were the ones that were relevant when for the short amount of time that I was like actually purchasing Magic the Gathering cards. Okay. Well, that was it. Thank you for the easy layup. I'll take the free point on that one.
For you.
Yeah, I'll accept that for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, Hypergenesis is a post 9/11 card, and it is banned in Modern. But what's interesting is that people tried to like test out if Hypergenesis is still broken by playing it against like current Modern decks. They did this like over a year ago, and it couldn't really put up any wins versus current Modern decks.
Yeah.
Yup.
That's very interesting. There's a Yu-Gi-Oh streamer and YouTuber named MBT, which is funny because he's actually named after Mono Bluetron, but he doesn't do Magic stuff. He does Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. And every once in a while he does I think he calls it the Masochist ban list tournament, where Yu-Gi-Oh has like a massive ban list because that is the format. They just keep adding on and taking shit off of the ban list. And every once in a while he does this tournament where he basically just unbans every single card, and it almost doesn't move the needle for like what's powerful. Like the Yu-Gi-Oh power like the power levels of Yu-Gi-Oh decks go up so quickly that you can unban a bunch of cards that have been on the ban list forever, and it doesn't even make the decks good enough to compete with the current meta. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But you do
that
end up
is
with a
with
lot of
Yu-Gi-Oh!
degenerate shit as well. There's stuff that needs to stay on the ban list in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it is just completely unfun in every possible way.
That definitely makes sense with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it is an eternal format. Just everything forever is technically within the legality. With Magic, it really depends on what format you're doing. Because, like, if like vintage legal shit suddenly became legal in the other formats, every format would turn into vintage.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And that makes a lot more sense. Somebody in chat says Yatagarasu doesn't matter at all. I'm pretty sure they unbanned that like a year ago. And no, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. That card does not matter. And I can't say what that card is because I might use it in the future.
Yeah.
But
keep Yu-Gi-Oh! A secret
unfortunately, I must keep Yu-Gi-Oh! Close to my chest so that I can trick my friends.
I don't know what Yatagarasu is.
Okay, that's the problem. Log's too smart.
Idea.
I have to find friends that know less about Yu-Gi-Oh! Than Log does, because he already...
I don't know. Do me and Balp.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. Although Balp played a little bit of Master Duel when we were all playing that.
Yeah, but I played a little bit of Master Duel too.
Yeah, but you were playing like Weather Painters or some shit. Or no, you were playing like Charmers. You're playing like the equivalent of like garbage. Like you were
playing Turples.
Crooked Cook. Thank you
that's
very
true.
much.
That's garbage in a different way.
And Jackpot 7, baby.
You were playing the decks that take the most advantage of the best of one Master Duel format.
We do a little trolling.
Yeah. All right.
I love Crooked Cook so much.
That is a funny card. I can't use that card, unfortunately.
Yeah, everybody knows that one. All right, going to the next one. Here we go.
Alrighty. Oh, this guy looks pretty cool. Looks pretty badass. Looks like a guy that I would have on a poster in my bedroom if I was 16 and needed badass stuff in my house, in my bedroom.
Hell yeah.
The Beast Within.
This is Beast Within. They are a 2 generic 1 green mana instant. They're not... It's not even the Beast himself. It's simply an instant spell representing the concept of the Beast Within. Destroy target permanent. Its controller puts a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. That is tough. Target permanent doesn't say non-land. That's the first thing I'm thinking, is that this could just say pay 3 mana, destroy a land, which could be pretty devastating,
we
theoretically.
Call that Stone Rain, where I come from.
They do get a 3/3 green beast, but I'm not sure how much that would really matter. It's not something that you'd probably want to see on your opponent's side of the field, but also doesn't feel like it's such a downside that it would be... It doesn't make me instantly think that the card is bad just because the downside is kind of... It doesn't seem like it's that much of a downside. 3 mana in green. I mean, if you're playing green, you're usually ramping, so you might even be able to play this like turn 2. If ice was good because it denied a mana for a turn, it's making me think that this destroying a land is even better because they don't get it back. It looks like it's a slightly older card given the quality of the border. Looks a little older.
That's a 2011.
Okay,
yeah. This is New Phyrexia, so
this is when I was playing.
It is like right before the Pioneer cutoff point, so it's not Pioneer
legal. So it's not Pioneer, so this is only Modern, Vintage, Legacy. I'm gonna guess probably Vintage and Legacy have better things to be doing with 3 mana, or better ways to destroy lands. I am kind of zeroing in on the destroying a land thing, but that's only because you guys hyped up ice so hard. It could just let you destroy anything, though, which, I mean, that, you know, why not have the option? You know, I'm gonna say this card fucks, and I'm gonna say it fucks because of potentially being able to destroy a land. 3 mana seems like the mana cost is the only thing, because like if this was like 1 or 2 mana, I would say pretty easily, but 3, maybe it might be too slow to matter. But in green, I think you're dealing with like a little bit of extra mana, so yeah, okay. I'm gonna say this card fucks. I'm gonna lock in. I think destroying a land is good enough that this card is good.
All right, so you would be right if this was a commander challenge, but in a 1v1 format, this is a sucks card.
Oh no! How can this be bad when the other one was good?
So think about this. Imagine this creature, 1 colorless mana, 3/3. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening if your opponent casts Beast Within on your land.
So imagine I'm on the other side of the field and I have my fucking Ursat's gnomes out, and I play some land that you don't like, and you Beast Within my land. I now have an Ursat's gnome and a 3/3 to kill you with on, or to like start beating you up with on my turn or on the next turn or whatever. I have a new beast to block with. I have a new beast to attack with. It's a good stat line. There's a lot of cheap creatures that will go down to a 3/3 beast. So like, basically, if you had this in your deck in a 1v1 format, you have to use this on a creature, because you can't just like blow up some land or artifact or something and leave them with 2 creatures on the field.
I see.
That's just like, that gives them way too much of an advantage. It's good in a multiplayer game because like they could just hit someone else. Yeah, the aggro is split. It's just like you see some bad thing on the field and I say, all right, I'm gonna hit this thing with Beast Within. All you guys have to not attack me because I did such a good job.
Yeah, you gotta bring the politics
Commander's very much
into
about
it.
politics.
Yeah.
But I will say, I'll give you props because you did notice that this destroys any kind of permanent, and
that was why
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's notable
for the card.
It's just, the thing is like, yeah, it's pretty expensive, so it's like it's like a thing that you would be spending all your mana to blow up something to give your opponent like a tempo advantage, basically.
Right, yeah. I guess I was just putting too much value on, like, because I know that there are a lot of lands that are like special, right? Like they don't just give you a mana, they'll like do something else and otherwise be difficult to interact with. Like I know there are like the Urza lands and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, there are angles to attack the lands that avoid giving your opponent a 3/3 beast.
That's fair.
Usually, like if you destroy a land, you're fine if they just get to replace it with another land.
Right. Okay.
Like some basic land or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the acceptable rate typically.
Okay. Well, I was close, but not close enough because I picked the wrong thing. What can you do?
I thought of a card. It's not on the chart, but I thought of a card. So I will send you this guy. Or wait, will I send you that guy? Or let me take a look at the list. Yeah, it's going to be that one. Okay. Take a look.
Alrighty. Another rather intense looking art for this guy. This is a card called Smallpox. It costs 2 black mana. It's a sorcery. Each player loses 1 life, discards a card, sacrifices a creature, then sacrifices a land. Okay. My gut reaction is this probably isn't very good because it's a sorcery. And I think this would be really... I don't even know if I'd say it'd be really good, but I would think it would be a decent card if it was instant, because being able to... correct me if I'm wrong. Sorcery is you cannot... It doesn't matter whose turn it is. It's main phase only, and you can't respond to something by casting a sorcery, right?
It's your own turn only. Your own main phase only.
But so let's say I cast something, my opponent responds. Can I respond to what they cast with a sorcery? Okay, so that's instant only.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this probably isn't a very good card, is because you're kind of committing to doing a lot of stuff, which would be pretty good if you could do it like in response to something. Like if my opponent is going to destroy one of my creatures or lands anyway, then I could play this, and then now we're both doing, you know, now we're sharing the pain or the smallpox, I suppose. But 2 mana to do all this random shit, and you're not even like dodging it, and then you could play this, and then now your opponent could be like, okay, well now I'm gonna respond to this, and I'm gonna do something that sacrifices my creature, so now I don't have a creature and I don't have to sacrifice one. Or I'm gonna, you know, get rid of the only card in my hand. Now I don't have a card to discard. I'm assuming if you don't have a creature, don't have a land, don't have something to discard, like it just doesn't do anything at that point. It doesn't say that you have to do it. Yeah, I'm going to say this card sucks because it's not an instant, and if it was an instant, it would probably be pretty decent. Locking in.
Locking in?
Yep.
Pox would be much better as an instant, you're right. But you'd be surprised to learn that this card is actually pretty fucking good.
Really? Wow, that's surprising.
This is a legacy deck, bro!
Wait, all right, hold on. Now we're having some dissent between the two scientists.
I'm not familiar with this one.
Dude, Pox is a legacy deck. This shit it's not a great legacy deck, don't get me wrong, but it can compete. It fucks. It's real.
All right, hold on.
Because
you
I don't
two
know
are going to
much
have
about
to
this
argue.
one.
All right, now we're in the debate portion of the program.
Look at Shay. It's not top tier these days, but it's real. It's a good card, bro. I would have shown you the real Pox, but people don't really use that one anymore.
Because
look at the chat.
I want smallpox to work in Modern, and like you can make packages that make smallpox work, but at this point it's really hard to include all the cards that are good for this and then have space for the stuff that's actually good.
Dude, you run this with like Bowmaster. I'm looking at a list right now. Bowmaster's Opposition Agent, Liliana the Veil, Karn the Great Creator. You got an entire fucking Karn board of like hate pieces like Grafdigger's Cage, Pithing Needle, Liquid Metal Coating, etc., etc., etc. Let's see. You have Dark Ritual, so you can pump this shit out quick, and you can offset your own loss of your lands. You're running Innocent Blood. Each player sacrifices a creature. You're running Thoughtseize. You're ripping shit out of people's hands. It's basically just a strategy that chokes the ever-loving shit out of your opponent and doesn't let them do anything. It stacks.
All right, here's how we're going to determine this one. You two need to either come to a consensus, or I'm giving myself a half point in each category.
It fucks. This is a real deck, dude.
Do you decide?
5-0.
Log, do you agree or disagree?
26th place. 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 176th place.
All right, hold on.
5th, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0.
We have dissenting opinions.
Okay, top 4 in a legacy challenge in this month. Okay, I'll allow it.
All right.
There you go.
So we're saying this card fucks. I got it wrong. Well, fuck me, I guess.
In the context, it probably is the only place that it works now is Legacy, because Legacy can put itself in a spot where it's good to cast Smallpox. There was a period of time in Modern where you could kind of make this work, because there are good creatures in Modern that come back to the battlefield from your graveyard when you play a land. There are lands that replace themselves when they get sacrificed. So on and so forth. Nowadays, it's too hard to build the deck and include like the stuff that keeps you at the same power level as like the new shit.
Yeah, in Legacy, like in this deck, you don't even play around with any of that cute shit. Like you don't have like a Bloodghast or any of that kind of shit. You're literally just, you slam this and a ton of other hate pieces. You beat the shit out of them with Bowmasters. You Karn a bunch of crazy shit out. And at that point, they're just like, well, I can't fucking do anything. I might as well scoop.
Well, a slight dissenting opinion, but the council has spoken, and I have lost a point.
Hell
but
yeah.
That's okay.
Also, look at Real Pox.
All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at Real Pox. I wish the card was actually called Real Pox. That would be pretty funny. Damn, I caught Real Pox. That sucks. Well, Real Pox costs 3 mana. It's an older card. They
Look at that
lose
art.
a third of their life, discard a third of their hand, and sacrifice a third of their creatures, and then sacrifice a third of their land, round up each time. This one's not better. They don't use this one.
Nope.
I guess it
It's that extra
hits
pit,
you.
bro.
Yeah, that too.
And it hits you just as hard, too.
Yeah, that's true. That seems pretty bad.
I love that art, though. So,
So great.
perfect.
You'll never see a card that makes people divide by 3 ever again.
I was about to say, like, that seems like the hard part is, like, how many times did people play this and they have to explain, like, no. Okay, you divide it by 3 and then you round up. You got to teach these motherfuckers how to do the ceiling math on this shit. All right. Hit me with another
Box is
card.
cool.
I got to get back into the green here.
All right. Yeah. So another thing that you mentioned is it would be good if it was instant speed. Instant speed discard is like a big no-no in Magic design.
Oh, really?
There's like one card I can think of that does it, but largely they don't want that effect because there's a draw step in your turn. If you get your opponent down to 0 cards, you can just start casting instant discard spells on the end of their draw step to make them never have any cards.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it is Yatagrasu. That's funny. Basically.
All right, so I got
Slightly
the new
different.
card here.
We have Grist Voracious Larva. 1 green. I see that it's a card with 2 sides. It's a legendary creature insect with Death Touch. Whenever Grist Voracious Larva or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, you may pay 1 green mana. If you do, exile Grist, then return to the battlefield transformed. All right? Well, let's take a look-see at what the other side of this card is. The other side of this card says Grist the Plague Swarm. They are a planeswalker. They start with 3 loyalty, +1, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards. Put a death touch counter on the token if a black card was milled this way. I'm assuming that just means that the token has death touch, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
-2.
And it's on a counter, and you can move that counter around potentially.
Right. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. -6, for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 black and green insect. Okay. So, front side of this card doesn't seem like you would ever cast it, basically. Like, it seems like the point is that you're supposed to get this into your graveyard and then play it from your graveyard. You pay an extra green, and if you do, it becomes the Planeswalker version. Now, the Planeswalker effects... I guess I'm not super familiar with the average power level of Planeswalkers. I know that there are some very broken ones, and I know that there are some very bad ones. This one strikes me as not too incredibly strong. I feel like normally the broken Planeswalkers are the ones where they really misjudged the value of the plus ability, and it's like way
Usually.
too good. This one...
Usually the busted planeswalkers are like, yeah, they fucked something up somewhere.
This one, for +1, starts at 3, +1, you get an insect, you mill 2 cards, and then only if it's a black card do you even put a death touch counter on the token. But, I mean, you probably have... I mean, well, it doesn't even cost any black mana. It's actually just green. But I guess if you're playing this card, you're probably playing a black-green deck, or else it doesn't do anything. Targeted removal for artifacts and enchantment. It doesn't seem like it's too hard to come across targeted removal for that kind of stuff. -2 means you can only use that once before you have to start plussing it. You'd have to plus it twice to even do it again. And then the -6 Usually I feel like the ultimate abilities for Planeswalkers, for the Planeswalkers I've seen that are good, the ultimate ability, if it's used, basically just says win the game on the spot, and this one does not seem like it's that unless you have a very specific graveyard setup. I'm trying to determine if the self-mill is, like, super relevant, but I'm pretty sure there'd be easier ways to mill yourself if you really were just interested in dumping a bunch of cards into the graveyard. I'm currently leaning towards this card sucking. Mostly because the Planeswalker abilities don't immediately strike me as being super impactful immediately. I mean, Death Touch is cool, I guess. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about the back. I mean, the front is just a 1-mana Death Touch worm. I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, I guess. But okay, so the way you might have to remind me, the way that Death Touch works is if I block with a Death Touch creature, it destroys the attacking creature if I deal damage to it, right?
Yeah, any damage.
Death Touch reads any amount of damage that it deals is lethal.
Is lethal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be combat damage even. Any damage from
Right.
a Death Touch creature kills things.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, if that's the case, is a 1-mana Death Touch insect, like, is 1/2? I mean, 1/2 is a pretty decent stat line for a 1-mana creature. It means that it can block something. It basically, I guess, should read, my opponent will not attack me with 1/1s because I will kill them. But I'm not sure if that's worth it. This is a tough one. I guess I'm going to... Oh, this one's a real thinker. I'm super split, honestly. And I'm mostly split because I don't think I can convince myself that the Planeswalker side is any good, but I also can't convince myself that the front of the card might just be decent enough to play on its own, and you just don't even care about the back side at all. And then I guess, like, if you're playing it just for the front, I guess just having the Planeswalker side there, if you, for some reason, really needed to destroy a target artifact or enchantment, but I'm not sure. Okay, I need to make a decision, because this show is not called think about
Trog's
things forever.
it's called Trog's Thinkums and Syncums.
Yeah, it's called my thinking hour. All right. I'm gonna lock in. I'm gonna lock in sucks. I think this card, I think if the Planeswalker side was better, maybe, but it doesn't seem that good to me, and the front side seems okay, but there's probably other cards that do a similar thing, potentially. Yeah, alright, I'm locking in sucks. I'm locking in. Let's go for it.
Got it.
Good job.
Whew.
Good job.
All
You
right.
did it.
That was a tough one.
Yeah. So this is from Modern Horizons 3.
Oh, wow.
So
That's pretty new.
there are 5 flipwalkers in Modern Horizons 3. So they're creatures on the front side. You fulfill a condition, they flip into a planeswalker.
Okay.
All other flipwalkers in the set just kind of fuck everybody's day up as soon as they flip. Grist has probably the weakest effect when she's played, and also is like the most middling planeswalker when she flips.
Yeah, it didn't
Also,
seem
some
great.
of their fronts are good. Like
Yeah,
Tamio's
so-
front is great.
Well, I mean, like the big one is Ral. Ral is the red flipwalker from the set, and basically made Storm a real deck again, all on his own.
Oh.
Like just to compare what we're dealing with, here's Ral's probably the strongest of the cycle.
Oh yeah, he's an Electromancer. Yeah, okay.
All right, let's
That's
take
fucked
a
up.
look at this guy real quick. We got compare and contrast.
Yup.
We have Ral Monsoon Mage, 1 generic, 1 red. He's a human wizard. Instant and sorceries cost 1 less. Pretty darn good on its own. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery during your turn, flip a coin. Always fun to read on a card when you gotta flip a coin. If you lose
Ral's
the
always
flip,
flipping coins.
if you lose the flip, it deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, he transforms. And let's take a look at the transform side. So already pretty good to just have less cost. Am I wrong? Is blue-red just like always broken? I feel like there's a lot of broken blue-red shit in Magic.
No,
It's a good color combo, but it's not always busted.
Okay. Maybe it's just the stuff that was good when I was paying attention.
That's some very recognizable hits.
All right.
Now, Jeskai, red, white, and blue. That's pretty good.
All right, so this is the Planeswalker side. Enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter for each instant and sorcery spell. Okay, I see. And then +1 is just his passive on the other side. You can only use 1 loyalty ability a turn, right? Like, you can't stack that shit? Okay.
Unless you have something that says otherwise.
His -2 deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. And you get to draw a card. All right, just a little bonus there for you. And -8, exile 8. And then cast instants or sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost. Well, what do you know here? We have another card that says don't pay for mana in the game that revolves around paying for mana for things.
Yeah, so this instant and sorcery discount effect was pretty much only on blue cards up until Modern Horizons 3. And then Ral came out, and he's a red card that discounts
It came out all right.
your instants and sorceries. And then he flips into something that extends your turn even longer to get more cards to combo off with. And like it basically is like, okay, well now you can play a Storm combo deck with only red, and it turned it into just like one of the best decks in Modern.
That's interesting.
And so like compared to this, where it's like Ral can just come down and might just win the game on the turn he comes down if you have enough spells to cast on that turn.
Right.
Versus Grist, where like it actually just doesn't really do anything if you cast it.
Like you could dump a bunch of shit out of your graveyard with like a Sir Conrad or something, and you're playing like backwoods 4 horsemen combo or some shit, but
Okay. So basically, yeah, so that was my thought about Grist, is that really the Planeswalker side just didn't seem like it was going to be... The good Planeswalkers I've seen do a lot more than just some targeted removal and like making some Death Touch worms appear, you know?
If you have a counter doubler on the field, Grist wins the game. Yeah, we're talking about the card themselves, not if you have if you have 1 ring protection up and you've got your primal vigor on the board and you've got 8 mana floating, and yeah, then it wins the game. You know.
Wait, why does having a token doubler or a counter doubler matter?
Because when you play a Planeswalker, the counters are put on it.
Oh,
so if you have
you
something
start
that
off with
says double the counters,
okay.
Yeah, this guy would start with 4 by default, right?
All right, yeah. That makes sense.
So there's some strategies you can do. It's usually called Super Friends, where you're just playing a fuck ton of Planeswalkers. You put down a token doubler, or I'm sorry, a counter doubler, and then you play a couple of Planeswalkers. It's like, okay, well, this guy can just ult instantly the turn I put him down.
Right,
because they're doubled. And yeah, that is a good, that is a powerful combination, but that's also like a 4 or 5 mana enchantment that has to be sitting around. It's prone to removal. It's not a very watertight plan.
Can a Planeswalker ult themselves to death, or do they need more than... Okay, so you can just spend all your counters to do the thing, but then they die afterwards. Okay. All right, well, hey, I'm back in the green. Let's keep it rolling.
I thought of one.
All right.
Come here.
Well, I don't know after the last one you just thought of, but let's take a look-see here. Another oldie, or at least a little old. Oh, let's get this guy off of here. All right, we have Standstill. 1 generic, 1 blue, enchantment. When a player plays a spell, sacrifice Standstill. If you do, each of that player's opponents draws 3 cards. When a player plays a spell, sacrifice Standstill. If you do, each of that player's opponents... Okay, so you're playing this. Whenever any other spell gets played, you get to draw 3. Well, no, wait, no, because your opponent, so you're playing this, you're hoping your opponent plays something. If your opponent plays something, then you get to draw 3. If you play something, they get to draw 3. But this card basically reads, play this and then don't do anything until your opponent does something. I mean, that's not so crazy if it's the last thing you do on your turn. You know, main phase 2, play this, and then your opponent basically is like, well, if I play anything other than a land, then I'm +3ing my opponent. I'm ignoring the fact that it says each of the player's opponents. It's interesting that it says that on an old card. I mean, I know that there's been like multiplayer formats before Commander, but I didn't think they really cared about that before Commander got super big.
Well, in the old days, they didn't really know what you were gonna do with this shit.
Right.
Yeah, so they just they kept the wording kind of open on some things.
Yeah. This is kind of a tough one. I mean, I could definitely see it's okay. Maybe I need to think about it from a different perspective. This is because your opponent needs to win the game. So at some point, your opponent is going to have to play a spell, usually, in order to win the game. So this card is essentially saying, spend 2 mana to draw 3 cards at some undetermined point in the future, but also you can't play anything while you're waiting for that to happen. I feel like blue probably has better ways to card draw that doesn't involve forcing them to not get to play the game while they're waiting to draw the cards. I guess it's kind of a funny thing to do at the end of your turn and then like force your opponent to think about what they're gonna do. But then what if they just pass and now it's your turn and then you have to just pass because you don't want to give them 3 cards? What are you gonna do? Just go back and forth forever? Like, eventually somebody's gonna have to play it, and you don't want your opponent just filling his hand with shit that's gonna kill you. I'm gonna say this card... I'm gonna say this card sucks, and I think it sucks because I'm gonna guess that blue has better ways to accomplish their goals that don't have as bad of a downside as this card. I'm gonna lock in with sucks.
So this card is one of my favorites. It's from my favorite Legacy deck that no longer plays this card because it's not good enough for the format anymore.
All right.
Sucks. It used, like a year ago, Shark still was fucking real. So the trick, Trog, what you do is there are cards that have abilities in them that you can use that still do something that don't count as casting the card.
I see.
Let me show you Shark Typhoon. Because that's a fucking card. Jesus, Ikoria. So the deck was called Shark Still because of these 2 cards, Standstill and Shark Typhoon. You play your Standstill turn 2, and then for the rest of the game, while your opponent is like, oh no, if I do anything, I'll draw them cards. You're sitting there doing shit like, yeah, I discard this and I make a shark. I smack you.
Okay.
Yeah, I use my currency converter to shuffle some cards around. I make a rogue. I smack you. You put out your shit before you drop the Standstill, and then you drop the Standstill, and then you're like, what you gonna do? You gonna make me draw 3 cards? And this is a format where Force of Will is a thing. Right?
Right.
So if they cast something, you draw 3. It's like, oh, hey, I just drew into Force Blue card. Get fucked.
Okay, so you can draw... So if they try to play something and you counter it, does it still count as them playing it?
Yeah.
When you put something on the stack, that is casting it.
Okay. So you can
You pay the
counter
mana,
it,
you
you
put it on
still
the
get the
stack, that
card
is
draw,
cast.
but they don't get the effect.
Yeah, so they will cast their card. It goes on the stack. The sharks, the standstill trigger goes on top of that. You can let the standstill trigger resolve. Draw your 3 cards. Their card is still on the stack, and then hey, I just ripped Force of Will blue card.
Gotcha.
Force of Will.
Okay. So basically this card was it's on the cusp, but the power level has just increased slightly too much for it to be playable.
Yeah, it got power crept out. Standstill. I think like there's still kind of a deck with like Shark Typhoon and like what is it called? Like Staff of the Storyteller, that kind of thing. But Bosham Roll was playing with it for like a good year, but nowadays I don't want to play with you anymore. It's all about Psychic Frog these days.
Psychic Frog.
My poor boy Standstill.
Yeah, Psychic Frog
That's
is
fun.
You
one
wanna
of
see
the
Psychic
hot
Frog?
new cards.
All right, show me Psychic
This-
Frog.
This
I'm
guy is
interested.
twerking all over Legacy right now.
Really? How old is
Yes.
this? Is this
Yes.
a new card or is this an old
This
card?
is a
Modern
Modern
Horizons
Horizons 3
3
card. This
Okay,
shit
so
came
it
out
just
like
came
2 months
out.
ago.
Yeah, it's one of the best cards right now.
All right, I want to read this. So this is Psychic Frog, 1 blue, 1 black, creature frog, go figure. Whenever Psychic Frog deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card, discard a card, put a +1/+1, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, it gains flying until end of turn. That's very interesting. Nothing on this card specifically reads as broken, but I do see how there is a situation where putting all of this stuff on the same card makes it very good.
Yep.
Like, if this was 3 separate cards, it would not be very good, but all put together for 2 mana seems pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy is overwhelming the populace.
Now that Grief is dead, I mean, even before Grief was, or wait, no. When? I think Grief got banned after Modern Horizons 3 came out, right?
Yeah, Grief
That's
got
how that
banned
timeline
a
shook
couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So for a little while, like when Grief was still around, like people would just run Psychic Frog Grief decks, and then Grief got banned, and now it's just like, okay, now it's just Psychic Frog. Psychic
Nice.
Frog is running rampant. Just
That's
look at
funny.
this fucking dude.
Is this card, like, played in Modern a lot, or
Yeah,
Modern as well?
yeah, you can play it in Modern.
Okay. Well, I like the art a lot. He's
Yeah,
a
it's
good-
pretty cool.
He's a good looking guy. You know what's funny is there's a lot of frogs in Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Frog is just like it's not like a full archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh, but there are a lot of
There
frog
sure are a
cards.
lot of frogs. I remember
Yeah.
And
there's a
Frog
card
the
that's like
Jam.
3 frogs stacked on top of each other.
Well, that's
What
a toad.
frog was that?
Are you thinking of Totally Awesome? That's 2 toads.
Oh, I'm thinking of Totally Awesome. My
yeah,
mistake.
Totally Awesome. Rest in peace. Free my boy. He's not that good anymore. I don't know why he's still on the fucking ban list. He's not.
Sad.
He should not be banned. Dude, my favorite deck to play in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it was never, I mean, it was good like a million years ago, but I loved playing Sharks. I loved playing, in Yu-Gi-Oh, the Sharks deck is kind of just like a mid-range toolbox where you have a bunch of different Xyz monsters that kind of just do different stuff. You just kind of pull whichever one out you need at the moment using a bunch of different sharks that summon each other and stuff. That deck
Makes
is
sense.
real bad nowadays. It is like hyper power crept. But
Sad.
rest in peace. Totally awesome. Bring my boy back. He's still on the fucking ban list, I'm pretty sure. Oh well. All right, hit me
Log,
with
your go.
another.
Okay, here's up next.
Alrighty. Let's take a look. Oh, yep. This guy is Tide Shaper. 1 blue, 1/1. Creature, Merfolk Wizard. Kicker 1. You may pay an additional 1 as you cast this spell. When Tide Shaper enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, target land becomes an island for as long as Tide Shaper remains on the battlefield. Tide Shaper gets +1/+1 as long as an opponent controls an island. So, I will say, one of the few decks I remember kind of looking at was Merfolk. That being said, I'm not sure I remember this card specifically. I remember that Merfolk's thing is to turn your opponent's lands into islands, which can... I remember specifically there being an interaction with some good land that was put... Or, it was Urza's Saga, I think. There's something with Urza's Saga where if you turn it into an island, it just blows itself up for some reason. I remember this interaction. So this seems good for that. I don't know how relevant Merfolk are in general in the meta. And I think there was actually another card that also like turned all non-basics into islands. Or no, wait. I'm getting it confused with Blood Moon. Blood Moon turns all non-basics into mountains. I know that card. They did
print a blue one.
Oh, there is a blue one?
They printed a blue one like that, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like that. It's a creature, but whatever.
Is this good? I mean, I think this one would kind of depend on how good the rest of the Merfolk deck is. Like, I don't see you playing this card generically. Like, this reads more to me... This reads more to me as like almost like how Yu-Gi-Oh does their cards, where like the cards are basically designed to pre-fit into a deck of similarly, you know, cards that interact with each other versus like what I think most modern Magic decks are, which is like we take a bunch of good cards that happen to do the same thing or have synergies, but we're not maybe specifically printed to work together.
Right.
I mean, I would say in a Merfolk deck, I would play this. This card is good in a Merfolk deck, but I'm not sure that Merfolk are relevant. So I don't. It's almost like I want to say like this card fucks in a Merfolk deck, but probably sucks in the modern meta. I don't imagine it's super relevant. Because you'd have to, like... This is certainly not a staple, I wouldn't think. Although, I don't know. I mean, maybe the whole destroying sagas thing is, like, relevant. So maybe, like, as a side deck card or something? 2 mana. Excuse me. Hold on. I have to blow my nose. Give me 1 second.
How dare you?
Pomp and circuit.
All right. Yeah, this one's kind of hard. Yeah, I really do feel like this is a situation where this card is good in its deck, but maybe just not good generically. Although, I don't know. I mean, again, the turning it into an island thing is the only thing that I'm thinking of that might potentially have generic benefits, but I am going to say this card... I think this card sucks because I don't think that Merfolk are good, and maybe that's bringing too much of my, like, small amount of meta knowledge into it, but I'm gonna say that I'm gonna lock it and say it sucks because of that. And if it doesn't suck because of that, it's maybe played in like a sideboard, but I'm locking in sucks.
So this card does fuck because Merfolk are good.
Ah, darn it.
And
well,
this goes in the main deck. So Mira kind of gave you a hint that there is a blue version of Blood Moon that is a creature. Guess what type of creature it is?
Oh, it's a creature. Okay. I thought it would be another enchantment or something.
Yeah, it's a they added a Merfolk that turns all non-basic lands into islands. And they added in a counterspell that is free if you sacrifice a blue creature.
I see.
Put 2 and 2 together and you have Merfolk as a deck that shuts off all your opponent's lands and counters relevant spells, and then has a bunch of guys that are like buffed up by dudes that say your Merfolk have +1/+1
right,
and can't be blocked if your opponent controls an island.
Okay.
Yeah,
I overthought
and-
this one. I should have gone with my gut, but I thought too hard about Merfolk's current
Yeah.
place in the meta.
They're not good in Legacy right now. They're like an enthusiast. That like if you're playing
But they were
Merfolk,
never
you're
a
a Merfolk
thing
weirdo.
that much.
I mean, people play them.
Yeah, but people were playing, like, Elves was the one thing that people would play in Legacy that, like, had some Legacy power level stuff to work with. But Merfolk, yeah, Merfolk is, like, the only deck of its kind that's still staying relevant in Modern. Because they got the Modern Horizons 3 tools that actually work for them.
Yeah, it's very interesting how just like going from Yu-Gi-Oh to Magic, I was really surprised by how Magic decks are constructed versus Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like Yu-Gi-Oh decks, I mean, people have like, you know, weird text and stuff. The game is so old, there's always like old cards popping up. But a lot of it is just Konami printing a bunch of cards that say, if you play all these cards together, something good will happen to you. Like, it's very, it's very predetermined in a way that is like, you're really thinking about it more in terms of archetypes, where it's like, do all of these cards list each other on themselves? If so, they are probably playable.
Yeah. Yeah, Magic's a lot more open-ended in deck building in that way.
I think
I feel
that's
like
why...
it's something that I feel like I chafed with Yu-Gi-Oh, because compared to Magic, like coming from Magic, that archetype system feels so like insular.
Yeah, it is.
If that's the right word. Yeah.
No, I kind of agree. That's why I kind of like I mean, that Yu-Gi-Oh's been that way for a very long time. Like, it's been, you know, a decade plus since people were just jamming piles of cards that are good together.
Stuff.
Konami just at a certain point just kind of flipped and was like, this is how we're doing decks now. Like, we are determining what the decks are basically for you. I mean, people still definitely figure stuff out. Like, every once in a while, decks will pop up that are like, oh, here's just like, it's usually for stuff where it's like, oh, here's just a bunch of dragons that work well together. It's not specifically like, oh, the fucking specific type of dragon. It's just dragons in general can be played as a deck kind of thing. But it is a lot of Konami printing a card that says Snake Eyes on it. Anything that has the word Snake Eyes on it, you're gonna put it in this deck, and it's gonna cost $2,000 and it's gonna beat everybody.
Don't include Frog the Jam in this effect.
That's true. Does not include Frog the Jam.
All right, we're down to the final 5 on the list.
All right.
Yep.
Here's the next.
Actually, I think there's more than 5. You're just scrolled down.
Really?
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, there's 3 more up top.
don't have to do all of them.
I had accidentally skipped over some.
We can keep going until I win.
I mean, you're
Alrighty.
positive right now.
That is true. I am winning at the moment, but only barely. We have Trinisphere, which is a 3-mana artifact. Good so far. As long as Trinisphere is untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana to play costs 3 mana to play. And I think that's just saying it uses colorless. So any spell that costs less than 3 costs 3. Well, that seems really good for you if none of your spells cost less than 3 mana and all of your opponent's spells cost less than 3 mana. Yeah, I mean, this seems like a really good card if you're willing to build around it, which I'm assuming, I mean, we've already seen cards that don't cost the exact amount of mana that's listed on their card. So I'm leaning towards this card is probably good. Definitely slowing down your opponent. I mean, I guess it would be more determined on... I would almost see this as a card that you would put in your side deck, potentially, and then bust it out. Well, no, I guess not, because if you're playing this, then you're almost certainly not going to want to play 1 and 2 mana cost spells, so I don't think you can side deck that hard. I am immediately thinking about Cascade because we've gone over that like 5 times.
Because of course you are.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore the elephant in the room here, or maybe the rhinos. I'm gonna say this card fucks because it seems like it's not that hard to build your deck around, and it seems like it would be very good at shutting down specific strategies that revolve around 1 and 2 cost cards. Like any sort of aggro or burn or anything like that is just gonna get really slowed down by this. And if you're playing fucking Cascade or whatever, you're just like, oh, here's my 9 million mana card that I played for free. It costs 4 mana, like whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna say this card fucks. I'm locking in.
All right. Yeah. Trinosphere is a super unique and really good hate piece.
All right.
So we said earlier that it's a lot easier to make a lot of colorless mana than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just have this low on your curve and just have a bunch of colorless mana to cast expensive colorless guys. And once Trinosphere is on the field, by the rules of like how casting costs are, Trinosphere has like its own step at the end. You apply all reductions and additions to a mana cost, and then at the very end it says, Trinosphere makes things 3.
Okay, so this is like completely over. Like you cannot. The Trinosphere is the last step of the process. Like you cannot get around it.
You can't bullshit it.
Yeah.
This even hits like alternate casting cost, like Force of Will. This makes Force of Will cost 3, even if you pay it for free by exiling a blue card.
Oh, okay. So you'd have to exile it and pay 3 anyway.
Yeah. Specifically, this shits on Cascade because it makes the cascaded spell cost 3.
Oh.
There's also, I mean, there's just a bunch of decks that this hoses. Aggro can sort of make it work because aggro is probably just gonna be playing a bunch of creatures, and it's like it's not gonna be fun, but they can pay 3 mana to get their guy and like start fighting or whatever. If you're playing Storm, like you're done for whenever this is on the field. Like you better hope you have a way to get rid of this because you cannot do a Storm combo if everything costs 3.
Yeah. I do see this understanding that it just has no way around it. It does seem like, seeing as how many other good cards exist that just let them play themselves for free, this stopping every single one of those seems pretty good.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily stop them. It just throws a significant wrench into it.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
and if you're playing around it, then, you know.
This shit goes in like top vintage decks. It's a one of in like jewel shops and shit. Yeah, it's a one of. It
seems kind of miserable to play against.
No, it's awesome.
Really?
If you're a combo player, then yeah, this is.
Is this like you see this and you're just like, all right, GG, like I'm gonna go next.
It's gonna draw the removal, bro.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
Should have had removal, bro.
This makes me think of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, which again I can't say because I'm gonna spoil it. But if you know Yu-Gi-Oh card, you might be thinking of the card that I'm thinking of that everybody fucking hates. Maybe the most hated card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh ever. It reminds me of this card.
What is it like? The first thing that comes to mind is evenly matched.
No, it's not that one.
That's balance,
no,
bro.
Evenly matched is fine. People don't care about that one very much. That's a funny card. I like evenly matched. Anyway.
Oh yeah, and I bookmarked the Gatherer comments for this one. Because for some reason there was somebody that was posting. They wrote a comment that sounds like they were like trying to write it as a snake or something.
What?
It's like just a bunch of double letters in here. It's like, if it were unrestricted in vintage, creatures might have a chance. Although most decks are hurt by it. If there is underused in Legacy and extended as well.
Maybe his keyboard's broken.
It's just the S key.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-ball's a classic.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems like a very good and a very frustrating card to play against for sure. But I think one difference between Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh is that Yu-Gi-Oh players for some reason are like super allergic to having specific removal in their decks nowadays. People hate like having to waste card slots on like back row removal.
The hand traps are toxic, bro. It's toxic to have removal.
No, the hand traps aren't even the problem. The problem is floodgates that just stop you from playing the game, and the only way to get rid of them is to just draw your Mystical Space Typhoon or whatever. People hate that shit.
I would simply draw the removal.
Yeah, just draw the out.
This kind of stuff is very prevalent, especially in like the older Magic formats, like Legacy and Vintage. You see a lot of these small hate pieces. They're usually artifacts that say shit like, for example, Vexing Bauble. It's a 1-drop that says, whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter it. No doing shit for free.
Right.
Lot of small, cheap hate pieces like these become really prevalent in Magic's older formats just because of how much crazy ways there is to cheat free shit
you have
in
to
or
have
not
some
pay for
check.
things.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we got another card here. This card has a white border. Why does it have a white border? Does that mean anything?
That's
Because
just
back in
old
the
school
day-
shit.
Back in the day, for a little while, for like, I don't know how long, but it means it's a reprint. For a while, they would print reprints with a white border.
Okay, so
I
that
don't
was
know
like
why they thought it
first
was a good
edition
idea.
versus reprint, like to.
Yeah, it's just showing that it's a reprint.
Okay, interesting.
Do not know why the fuck they did this.
So this is a card called Piracy. It costs 2 blue. It says, it's a sorcery. It says, this turn, you may tap lands you don't control to help pay for your spells. Okay. Wow, this is a very unique card. I don't think I've ever seen something that says that you can just tap your opponent's lands to pay
You're
for your
wrong,
stuff.
Raz. It was printed in Portal Second Age, you fucking dork. Anyways.
But now the question is tapping your opponent's land is it good or is it just funny? Because it definitely seems funny to me, but I'm not sure that it's good. Because, I mean, okay. Number one, your opponent is going to have untapped lands that you can take advantage of, which, if they're playing efficiently, they may not even have lands that are untapped for you to use. Number two, I mean, I guess you have to deal with the color stuff, but I mean, most cards have a generic mana cost that maybe could be paid by any random color that your opponent might be playing, potentially. But it's only for this turn, and it costs 2. So let's say you played this on turn 2. If you played this on turn 2 and your opponent has 2 lands, aren't you just paying 2 mana to cast a 2 mana spell at that point? It definitely becomes better the longer the game goes on for, because theoretically the more lands your opponent would have to tap, but even then, even at the best case scenario where it's doubling the amount of mana that you get to play within a turn, like, you're not denying your opponent's resources. Also, you play this. This is a sorcery, not an instant. You play this. Your opponent... Wait, hold on. Can't your opponent just tap lands? Like, isn't that basically... Like, that's not even a something that goes on the stack. Isn't that just like a free action, basically? Is that you can just... At any point, you can tap lands. I think that... All right, the jokesters in the back of the classroom are giggling at me. I think this card sucks because you can just tap all your lands in response to it. I'm locking in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's the trick. There's no reason that this would ever work against anybody.
Okay, that's what I was... Okay, here was my thought process. I was thinking, okay, because first I was going to say something that was even more dumb, which is like, well, if my opponent plays that and I have an instant in my hand, I can just cast the instant and then they can't use my mana. But then I remembered...
This is also true.
But then I remembered you don't actually have to cast anything. You can just tap your mana for no reason, and it doesn't, like...
So...
There's no point to not doing
Back
it.
in the day when this card was printed, mana burn was a thing that existed, and you took damage for mana that you didn't spend.
Okay, so,
Even then,
it's
like...
still not good.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not a very valuable effect. But after they removed mana burn, it became
this card is literally
useless.
worthless.
Right, but I mean, even mana burn, it's like, oh yeah, take 3, bitch. Like what? Like that's not worth it.
Hey, that could close out a game.
It's my blue lightning bolt.
I guess so.
My blue lightning bolt for 2.
Yeah, I guess so.
This card is worthless, but also it's $26.
Just because it's old,
I guess,
or because it's funny. People just like a
it's
novelty.
Portal. I feel like Portal cards are scarce. I think this set was like underprinted or something.
Okay.
Something like that. But yeah, this card is dog shit. It does nothing.
It's the stuff they tried to introduce, like Southeast Asia and stuff to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, China.
That's right. Yeah, I remember like seeing a video about that where there was like special sets specifically for like the Asian market.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like the game like played differently even, didn't it? Like didn't it have an alternate rule set or something? Or am I misremembering?
I don't think so. I think
don't think so.
I think they just tried to make everything more concise, but made it sound stupid instead.
Oh, I see. Okay. Did I give myself a point for that? Was anybody in chat paying attention? I can't remember if I gave myself a point for that. Was I at 7 before? I think was I at 7 before? I think I was. I think I've gotten 3 in a row right.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, minus 8. I think you should have 8.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I had 7 before. All right. Thank you. I'm on a roll right now. 3 in a row. Let's go. You're going to have to give me a harder one than fucking piracy.
Oh, let's try this one.
All right. Oh, holy shit. What is this, a Yu-Gi-Oh card? What's up with all this text?
You know how it is with old artifacts.
We have Helm of Obedience, 4 mana artifact, 1 mana, an X, and tap it. Target opponent puts cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard until a creature card or X cards are put into that graveyard this way. What a mouthful. Whichever comes first. I like how they say whichever comes first, like, just in case you didn't understand. If a creature card is put into that graveyard this way, sacrifice Helm of Obedience and put that card into play under your control. X can't be 0. Well, it feels like you should have put X can't be 0 at the top, but now I have to reread all of this. Okay, hold on. So, you pay 1 and some other amount. You tap the artifact.
Let's just say you pay 1.
Well, you have to. Okay, you pay 1 and 1.
What? X equals 1.
Yeah, X equals 1.
Let's assume X equals 1.
Target opponent puts cards from the top. Okay, they are milling until they hit a creature or the amount of mana, extra mana that you spent. If a creature card is put, sacrifice Helm of Obedience and put that card into play under your control. Okay, so you are stealing a creature, maybe, depending on what gets milled. My first thought is this card probably sucks. 4 mana, and then another 2. I mean, a repeatable mill effect probably is available cheaper if you cared about actually winning through mill. Kind of leaving it up to chance. Also, it says target opponent, so you can't cast it on yourself, which I just remembered is something I need to be paying attention to. So you can't even cast it on yourself and then put your own shit into play. Yeah, I mean, okay, the only way I see this being anything is you already have some way to generate a ton of mana and you just instantly mill. Well, no, because Oh no, because it stops whenever they hit any creature. It's whichever comes first.
Yeah, it goes until it either hits X or a
yeah,
creature.
so that just seems like it's leaving way too much up to chance for something that already costs 4 mana just to play it. And then 1X, so I mean, how much mana you have? You'd have to have so much mana for this to do basically anything. Like, what best case scenario is you're paying 6 mana and your opponent has a Ulamog on the top of their deck or something like that, but I mean, that doesn't seem very likely to happen. Yeah, I think this card sucks. I'm having no luck in trying to convince myself that this amount of mana for this strange of an effect would be useful. It's relying so much on your opponent's deck having something worth stealing, or failing that, just wanting to mill them. And if you want to mill them, there has to be cheaper ways to do it. But yeah, no, I'm gonna say this card sucks. I can't. If this card is good, it is utilizing some other mechanic or card that I am not privy to in the first place, so it's hopeless. I think this card sucks.
The trick with this guy, this is a very rules lawyery one. You gotta read the text very carefully in that first sentence of the ability.
All right.
Try and see if you can find what's wrong there.
Target opponent puts cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard until a creature card or X cards are put into that graveyard this way, whichever comes first. All right, let me, I'm squinting. I'm squinting at the card at this point.
Yeah, they use they nowadays. Chat room, his or her is old
I was about to
verbiage.
say, I'm gonna guess it is not, has to do with the pronouns of the card. That would be pretty crazy.
No, non-binary players are not invincible.
They're immune.
It's a bit of a Lord of the Rings situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Target opponent puts cards to his or her until or I'm not. Honestly, I think I'm gonna need a hint. I'm not seeing it.
What happens if cards don't go to their graveyard?
Oh, I see. It instantly mills them for 100% of their deck.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so now show me the card that is a Macrocosmos that says all cards that go to the graveyard get exiled instead.
So
Go ahead.
multiple,
I'm ready for it.
There's multiple very playable effects for that that are legal in basically every format.
Okay.
Leyline of the Void is the special one that lets you have it on your battlefield at the start of the game if it's in your opening hand.
All right, yeah, that seems pretty good.
But there's also Rest in Peace, which is a 2-mana enchantment with this effect. There's Doffy Voidwalker, which is a creature that has that effect.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, if you have Leyline of the Void, Helm of Obedience lets you gives you the fabled OTK.
Right.
Start with Leyline on the field, play Swamp, Dark Ritual for 3 black mana, Dark Ritual for another 3 black mana. You have 5 black mana. Play Helm of Obedience, activate it, and then you win.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I did not think about that. There's a card in Yu-Gi-Oh called Macrocosmos, which is like the shorthand that people use to describe the effect of anything that goes to the grave, goes to exile, or the banish zone instead. I did not think about that, but that does make sense. I can see defeat on that one.
This is a very persistent effect. Honestly, Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace are legal in every single format except for Pauper, I think. Because they both got reprinted into Standard.
But the Helm card is really old, right?
Yeah,
so
Helm of Obedience is a reserve list card.
Oh, okay. So you can't. So this you're not playing this in Modern or whatever, right?
No,
Legacy and Vintage.
It's a legacy combo you can do.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, that's fair.
That was a tricky one.
Yeah, it's another angle of combo trickery.
Sometimes they write something silly on the card and you can abuse that.
I should have thought about the whole exile instead of grave stuff. There's not really anything in Yu-Gi-Oh that like specifically wins you the game on the spot because of an effect like that, but it is an effect that's like seen play in the past as like, you know, something that fucks your opponent up. In fact, I'm trying to remember the card. I have to look it up. I think there's a card that's super popular and hated right now that basically does that. Yeah, there is. There's a card called Dimension Shifter that is a hand trap that says, until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished. So you basically just hand trap that, and then your opponent doesn't get their turn because the graveyard is so important in Yu-Gi-Oh that I would say 98% of playable decks simply cannot play without their graveyard. So it is functionally a turn skip at that point. So, makes sense.
Yep. All right. Well, Aurora.
Hang on.
Aurora provided some new thinking
All right, we have a
material.
special guest card here from... What the fuck is this? Are you kidding me?
Look at the color.
We can't be putting the uncards in here. I'm not... A Tinley Igpe? Come on. A Bolday Ike Stray. I do like the art a lot, though. I'll give it up. The art's really good. Can I even parse this? Whenever this card's controller speaks... I don't know. I can't do it. I got like halfway through it. I'm like, I don't know.
Whenever you say a non-pig Latin word, sacrifice this guy.
Oh, nice. Wow, what a good card for 6 mana, too.
Yeah.
I guess
Hey,
it's a
check
double
this one out.
strike. Is this a real one? Or is this a...
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
This is a real one. Look at
Gotcha.
my onion head.
I wasn't sure. All right, this is a real one. This is... Stifle. For 1 blue, it's an instant, counter, target, activated, or triggered ability. Mana abilities can't be targeted. 1 mana. So, activated or triggered ability. Does this include stuff like enter the battlefield effects and such?
That is a triggered ability.
That is a triggered ability. So it's
Anything that says like when, blah, 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 triggered ability.
So this is... Okay. And mana abilities are just anything that gives you
Makes mana.
It makes mana. So
Yeah.
you can't use it to stop what are the Llanowar elves, that kind of... That's one of them, right? The mana guys.
Yeah, but Gris sucks balls, he who come through. Get out of here. Anyways, go ahead.
I mean, it seems good to me. I don't see it being... It doesn't seem bad. I guess it's a little more... excuse me. It's a little more narrow than most counters, but it also only costs 1 blue. There's really not much to chew on here. I kind of just have to make the call. Is it good? Is it too narrow to be useful, or is it still useful to have such a specific counter for 1 mana? Force of Will is that modern legal, or is Force of Will a legacy only?
That's legacy.
That's
and
legacy.
old.
Force of
only.
Will is Legacy Vintage. I think Modern has Force of Negation,
Right, there are
which is
other
only on the opponent's
counters.
turn.
Oh, I see.
And it's Force of Negation is for non-creature spells only.
Oh, yeah, it has that restriction as well.
Target activated or triggered ability. So the other thing is, whenever you counter a spell, it goes away, right? Like you're basically, you know.
It goes to the graveyard once it's done.
Exactly. They try to play something, you counter it, the card is gone. If you're playing this, it's just countering the ability for now. So unless you also have a way to remove it, all you're really doing is buying yourself a turn, basically. So that fact makes me start leaning towards that it might suck just because it doesn't actually remove the problem. It just kind of pushes it off for a little bit. And at that point, is that worth it? Okay, so if a card says like do this and then sacrifice it, but you counter that ability, it doesn't have to sacrifice itself, right? Like it just stays there.
Okay, costs are paid before effects happen. So if it's before the colon in the activated ability, that is part of the cost. If it's part of the cost, it sacrifices itself first.
Okay.
If it's not part of the cost and it's part of the ability, if you counter the ability, then it won't get sacrificed.
Okay. So that's something, but I'm not really familiar with enough cards to know if there's enough of those that sacrifice themselves or something. I guess it would depend. I mean, that could potentially make this really good if they are trying to do some ability that forces them to, I don't know, sacrifice 3 creatures or do something stupid, like do something that's really expensive, and then in response to them paying that cost, you kill it anyway. But it still doesn't seem better than obviously stopping them from doing it in the first place. It's kind of tough. Yeah, I'm going to say this. Oh man, this is another one where I'm really on the fence. It's definitely a card where I can see the usefulness, but I'm having trouble determining, is it useful enough to play over a more generic card that does something potentially more impactful but has a higher cost? Okay. I'm going to lock in and I'm going to say this card. Okay. Oh, okay. I know. I'm beating around the bush. Hold on. Wait. I'm entering my mind palace. The words are flying around. I'm seeing mana symbols show up in front of my vision. I'm doing the Sherlock thing where I'm like waving my hands around and I'm like moving the words and I'm like combining them like it's a merge game. And I'm like, I'm seeing through the ley lines of the world. This card. Oh, fuck. This card.
Personally, the card is shaped like a paintbrush.
Onion, bro.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I thought the shadow was like part of their hair, but no, it's like...
Yeah, I always thought it was a hood, but then I looked closer. I was like, wait, this dude's an onion.
They're just pointing. All right, that's not here or there. I'm going to say this... Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I think here's what's going to push me over, because I was originally going to say sucks, but I'm going to attempt to use pattern recognition and notice that it does not say activated or triggered ability from your opponent. So maybe there's some kind of edge case where countering your own activated or triggered abilities could be good. For instance, maybe you have a card that says like, oh, play this card, but sacrifice 5 other cards whenever it comes into the battlefield. I'm going to say you can play that, but then you counter their enter the battlefield ability, and then you don't have to sacrifice 5 of your own cards, and you just get the shit for free. I'm going to say this card fucks.
So, I'm glad you agonized on this card so hard, because I feel like nobody can really come to a consensus whether Stifle fucks or sucks.
Oh, really?
I feel like it leans a little bit more towards sucks, but I want to give you the point just because you went through all of the possibility. You were on deck.
Stifle's been real long enough.
All right, I'll accept the point.
Yeah,
I'll take the point
I
for
want
sure.
to say that it fucks, but I feel like most people think that it's not good enough. But I'll say that it fucks. This is kind of a throwback. You remember the first card we did on this show?
Nope, but you posted it,
Well,
so
I
I'm
linked
gonna
it for
remember
ya.
it now. Yeah. So this was nope, not that one. Hold on. Oh yeah. I remember this guy, Leveler.
Mm-hmm.
You remove your library from the game. Okay, right. So is it basically what I said, where you use it to counter your own negative effects rather than your opponent's?
But it also works for canceling your opponent's shit. For example, Thassa's Oracle. That's a trigger. You can stifle that.
Okay.
Your turn 1, you play a fetch land. I play my turn 1. I play an island. I pass to you. You go to crack your fetch. I stifle your fetch. Now your fetch land doesn't exist. You just wasted a fucking turn, idiot.
Right.
Have fun with your new turn 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
cool
I'm glad
that
I'm glad I took because I was about to say sucks, and then I entered my mind palace and I said, what am I forgetting? And I said, wait a minute, you can target your own spells with counters. We literally already went over this, that this is something that you can do. So I'm glad that I recalled.
Spend 6 mana on a vanilla 10/10. Okay, fine. If that's not good enough for you, let me go get you the better one, the one that people actually use. Here you go.
That was just because we did that card last time. Yeah, this card I'm aware of. I know all about this feller.
Yeah, Stifle Knot's a classic.
I know about Phyrexian Dreadnought.
1 mana for a 12/12 trample?
Yeah, pretty good.
Don't mind if I do.
All right. Whew, that was a tough one. That was a tough one, but I pulled through at the end.
Hell yeah.
All right, what else you got for me? We'll do maybe.
Right.
I don't think we'll get through all of them, but maybe we can do like a couple more. We're already at 2 hours on this one.
All right. Well, how about this one?
Let's take a look. And this is a funny looking guy. I like him.
Good old Izzy art.
So we have Crime Novelist, a 2 generic, 1 red mana goblin bard. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Crime Novelist and add 1 red mana. So 1/3. Yeah, that doesn't seem bad. I know that in Magic, it's good to have cards that let you sacrifice other things with no limit. Like, I know that there are infinite combos and stuff that utilize that kind of effect, where you do something with something and then sacrifice it at the end, and then sacrificing it lets you basically make another one, and then that just like goes on forever. And this seems to fit that bill. I'm not sure the +1/+1s matter too terribly much. I mean, infinite mana is good. I mean, if there is an artifact that, or if there's something that costs 1 mana to make an artifact, at that point you have infinite. I mean, you don't have infinite artifacts at the same time, but you can cycle through them. So if something else says something like, when an artifact enters, do something else, you could potentially use this for something like that. And then, is that good enough though? It seems like it's probably good to me, just having like a sacrifice outlet like that. I know that there are other cards that also do that, but I feel like that's usually a black thing, so I'm not sure if red cares as much. Yeah. I'm gonna say this card probably fucks and is probably used in some kind of infinite combo in some way. I'm gonna lock in with fucks.
Yeah. So
you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, this one actually sucks.
No.
There's some nuance to it, in that it kind of sucks for 2 reasons. One is that it isn't an artifact itself, and the other is that it's not common. It's uncommon. So
I didn't know we were taking the rarity of the cards into account here.
So
yeah,
I mean, this is one of the aspects of it,
or the format legality.
So like, if something cares about sacrificing artifacts and just like does stuff infinitely for sacrificing artifacts. That can be good, but the whenever it's like that, whenever it cares about sacrificing artifacts, the thing that it works best with is the artifacts that put +1/+1 counters on other artifacts when they die.
Oh.
That is like a big thing from early modern era, is that like there's a bunch of creatures with modular. They're artifact creatures that have counters on them, and whenever they die, you can put those counters on another artifact creature.
Is that related to like the walking ballista stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like that was the deck that I played.
Ballista in that deck, yeah.
That was like Hardened Scales was the deck that I played, and it's like it played the Arcbound Ravager, which was a modular guy that could just sacrifice as many artifacts as you wanted to get counters. And like, yeah, if Crime Novelist was an artifact creature too, that would fit in perfectly, because you basically be doubling your counters every time you used Arcbound Ravager.
Right.
Sack one artifact, Ravager gets a counter, this thing gets a counter, and then you make mana too to cast more artifacts. That would be really good. But because this isn't an artifact, it just doesn't fit in the deck, because it can't hold the counters whenever your artifact creatures die.
I see.
There's not really any other like artifact sacrifice deck that really works. The other part of it, well, there is one, but it's a Pauper deck. Artifact sacrifice in Pauper is actually super powerful, and they keep having to like ban stuff to keep it in check. And in that case, it doesn't actually necessarily care about artifact creatures. There's just like common creatures that sacrifice artifacts that are just good. It doesn't matter if they're artifacts or not. Crime Novelist would fit in perfectly, but Crime Novelist isn't uncommon.
Right.
Pauper has to be common.
Yep. Okay.
Yup.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Now, that's fair. So it's basically, if you want this kind of effect, it has to be on a slightly different card for it to actually be used in the deck that it's used in.
Yeah, like a goblin would be like, that would work if it said just like sacrificing creatures and stuff. That would probably fit in quite well, because goblins are known to blow up and act like they don't know nobody.
Yeah.
But because it cares about artifacts, it doesn't really fit anywhere.
Okay. Yep. No, I get it. Understandable. All right, I want you guys to hit me with one more for this episode. One last.
All
We're
right.
gonna be the last one.
Your choice, Slug. I assume it's either this guy or this guy.
Yeah, I wanna bring this one in.
Go for it.
This will be a head scratcher.
Alrighty. Let's take a look. For the last card of the night, we have Krark Clan Ironworks, which is 4 mana. It is an artifact. It is uncommon. Now I need to pay attention to that too, I guess. Sacrifice an artifact, add 2 to your mana pool. Well, this seems very similar to the last card, but better, as now I know that artifacts are good. Well, I knew artifacts are good, but sacrifice an artifact, add 2 to your mana pool. So, well, it does cost 4. Theoretically, I guess it could sacrifice itself. Sacrifice an artifact. So that's a cost. So you can't like say I'm going to, well, okay. No. What I was about to say was going to be dumb. Because if you're going to sacrifice an artifact, you'd probably do whatever you were going to do with it before you sacrifice it. Like, can you, okay, I know that treasures are artifacts. Is sacrificing the like, does it say on a treasure, like, sacrifice this, right? Like,
Yes,
that's the
treasure's
first thing
ability
that
is
happens?
tap this, sacrifice it as part of the cost.
Right, okay.
Add 1 mana of any color to
So
your
you couldn't tap an artifact for mana and then sacrifice it with this for an extra 2? Or is that...
So
If
you
it's
can't do
not
it
a
with
treasure?
treasures. You
Right,
can't do it
right,
with
right.
treasures,
But you could do-
other artifacts that just say tap, add a mana. Yeah, you can do it.
Right.
like a Mox Lotus, or not a Mox, like any Mox, like a Mox
Yeah,
Pearl.
Mox
You could
Lotus.
tap. My bad. You could tap it for a white and then sacrifice it and have an extra 2.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that seems to me like this card has to be good, right? I mean, just judging by what the last one was.
Mox Lotus coming in MH4.
Yeah, that one,
Soon to be banned in Commander.
yeah. That one, makes your opponent have to buy you a McDonald's meal.
You don't even know what happened today, Trog.
No, I don't. Should
They banned 4 cards in Commander suddenly after like not banning cards in Commander for years.
I didn't even realize Commander really had a ban list.
Yeah,
It does.
Okay.
and like the price drops from banning those cards. It's like a small country's economy collapsed.
Wait, really?
It's like cards that it was like $300 cards that went down to like 10.
Oh my gosh. Wait, hold on. Before we continue with Karark Clan Ironworks, can you post, like, is there a page that shows, like, the drop? Like, can I look
Looking
at
for
the
it.
ticker for one of these?
Looking for it.
I'm very
you a chart.
interested to see which cards got banned. Or would that be cheating if I asked that? Or is it
I
irrelevant?
mean, it's not relevant here.
I mean, it's not relevant to the current
right,
question.
right.
because it's stuff. It's
Commander
It's
shit,
Commander
right?
stuff also.
Right.
We're
So
not talking
it-
about Commander.
So it's like Jeweled Lotus, which is a card that only has an effect in Commander.
Oh.
Because it is a 0 mana. It's a Black Lotus, but you can only spend the mana on casting a commander.
Oh, I see.
Oh, Goldfish has price history. I see.
We love to see I think an interesting aspect of card games is the speculative market aspect, where the value of these game pieces go up and down dependent on basically like the fucking whims of fate. And it's just, you never know when something's gonna get banned or something else is gonna come out, and suddenly this card that was like 20 cents is now $20. That kind of stuff, as somebody who does not purchase cards in that way, it's always very fun to watch it.
Yeah. Here, let me get the market price history for you. I've screenshotted the 3 month. This is for Dockside Extortionist.
Oh no. Oh, that's somebody's son's college fund, like just gone.
And
now.
I believe the bars in the back are volume.
One moment, and I'll pull this up for chat.
For the record, this is a card that people have been saying needs to be banned for a really long time.
Here you go, chat. Here's
Yeah, it is volume. The bars in the back are volume.
This is what that chart looks like. Looks pretty
This is for
bad.
a card that was banned today.
Here's Jeweled Lotus.
Okay. Oh wow, that one's even worse. You really have to pay attention to the gotta pay
The
attention to
numbers.
the y-axis on these.
Yeah, the y-axis.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me pull up that one. That one's a pretty bad. That's so funny. Is it just like literally? What's even the point at that point? If everybody is selling their cards, like who's buying these at this point? Like
People that want to play with. Like it's literally people that want to buy them to draw on them and shit.
that's a good point actually. That makes sense. That's funny. I mean, hey, a $35 piece of cardboard is still really expensive for a piece of cardboard.
I mean, this is just day one.
Yeah, that's
Tell me about it. And yeah,
true.
this is only this shit was literally banned earlier today.
This shit look like Boeing stock. It's
Yeah.
looking bad. All right, well, after that little aside, now is Karark Clan Ironworks a good card? I've had extra time to think about this one. I think it's, again, this just seems like a card that probably enables some kind of infinite combo, right? Like you have something, you sacrifice an artifact, get 2 mana, spend 1 mana to create another artifact in some way. Now you're +1 mana. Do that infinite times, infinite mana. I mean, you'd need one other card in order to turn that infinite mana into something that wins the game, but I don't assume that that's too terribly difficult to come across. Yeah, I'm gonna say this card fucks. I think this card is good. It seems like a combo enabler. Maybe the combo itself isn't isn't that good. That's the only thing that would make me think that it doesn't, is that maybe there's just better combo pieces that you could be playing. But I'm going to say this card fucks.
Locked
Yeah,
in?
right you are. This card
design
definitely fucks. So it is a combo card, and the way that this card combos is like the whole reason I have this here is the way this card combos is so bizarre and stretches the rules in such a weird way that like there's nothing else quite like it.
Really?
Because
it's not a very complicated effect. The effect is very straightforward, it seems.
Basically, the way that this combo works is that it abuses the rules around paying a cost. So whenever you cast a spell or activate an ability that has a mana cost or whatever, there are 2 rules tied to that. One of them is that you can activate as many mana abilities as you want to pay the cost. And 2 is that while you are activating your mana abilities, no triggers can go on the stack.
Okay.
So in that very specific space where you declare that you're going to activate an ability, and before the ability goes on the stack and you're paying the costs, that's where Cart Clan Ironworks lives. And what it does is, in that space where triggers can't go on the stack and you can activate mana abilities as many times as you want, you'll just sack a bunch of artifacts that say, whenever this goes to the graveyard, return another artifact in your graveyard to your hand. And you'll sacrifice them all at once. Normally, they would each individually go into the graveyard and the triggers would go on the stack, and you wouldn't be able to do anything with them because you have to choose the target when the trigger goes on the stack.
Oh, okay.
But because you're in that space where triggers can't go on the stack, they all go into the graveyard and then the triggers happen. So they can all look at each other and say, I'm going to return this guy to my hand, and then this guy's going to return this guy to my hand, and then this guy's going to return this guy to my hand. And they all go back into your hand, and you have 2 mana for each of them, and you just recast all of them
again. Yeah.
Presumably you have gone mana positive in some way, or you've like drawn some cards or something like that. And eventually you just wind up in a spot where it's like, okay, this thing, I can pay 1 red, it's an artifact, I can pay 1 red mana to do 2 damage to you and sacrifice it. And then I'll just sacrifice the rest of my artifacts while I'm trying to pay that cost. And then all the triggers will happen. The bomb will go back to my hand. All the other guys will go back to my hand. I have all the mana still. I cast them all again.
Right.
And then you're dead.
Okay. So it's very specific to the wording of how mana abilities and the stack actually interact.
Yeah, basically the rules around activating abilities and paying costs allow Cart Clan Ironworks to basically break the rules by playing by the rules.
Okay.
And it was kind of the Nadu way before Nadu existed, because it got banned from Modern because you would just take like 30-minute turns sacrificing stuff and drawing cards and looking for your pieces.
I see.
And stuff.
Very dirtily.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I would
and
not
also
have thought.
Because people just didn't really understand how it worked either.
Yeah.
So.
It seems like if I was completely, I wouldn't even say completely new, but if I did not, like, having to have an opponent explain why you're about to lose is not a very fun way to play a card game, you know, where it's like, okay, I guess I lose because you just explained all this weird rule shit to me, but I can't say I had fun.
Yeah, like it was already annoying for me every time I would go to a tournament with hardened scales, and my guy says, whenever he dies, put his counters on another artifact creature. And then I also have the thing that says, whenever a creature leaves the battlefield, put its counters on this. I keep having to explain to people that, yeah, it happens twice. I get double the counters. You get double. Yeah. I get counters for both things. It's like, I always have to explain that to people. And that's like, it's simple. And that like makes sense whenever you think about it. This one, it's like, you're fucking scamming me, dude. You're trying to sell me a bridge.
This seems like a judge nightmare.
Yeah.
We should.
And then that, not even to mention like people that think they understand the combo and then they do it wrong, and then they get into arguments over doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, that seems extra bad. We should come up with some kind of format that would let you guys like show off more. I love Magic cards that are stupid, right? Like maybe they're not good, but they are confusing. I don't know how we work that into a game show format, but I want to see more Magic cards that like don't make any sense at all when you read them, because I think that's very funny.
Yeah, those ones are always fun.
Well, that's going to be the last card for tonight. I have come out on top yet again with a slightly higher ratio than last time, 10-7. We did a couple more cards, but that's pretty good. I think I'm getting better, right? I'm improving. But I think for the next time we do this, I think I'll flip it around, and I've got a couple ideas that maybe aren't exactly guessing the power level of Yu-Gi-Oh! Related cards, because I do think Log is simply too genius. Mira, I could probably do some for Mira, though. I think I could. Log's just too smart. He knows too much. He's a genius. I could try to trick him with some, but I think he might know too much about the game. But Mira, I think I could get with some. Maybe
I only
some
play
of the cards.
stupid gimmick decks in
Yeah,
that
exactly.
game. I don't know shit.
She just knows less about the game, so that'll be easy. Another idea I had for Yu-Gi-Oh! Was this one's kind of dumb, but I would show you the art and name of a card and give you 3 choices for what the flavor text is, and you have to guess which flavor text goes with the card art. So maybe we'll do that one too. But yes, thank you. Thank you to my friends for continuing to elucidate me on the inner goings of Magic the Gathering history. And if you liked this format, which it seems people do, we'll keep doing it. No real set schedule, just whenever people are available. But we'll keep on keeping on as long as you guys keep enjoying watching, because I think it's a very fun format, and it's funny and it's informative, which is the best combo. A little bit of infotainment for you.
Real quick, read this one.
Oh yeah.
Read this one. All right. We got a ringer in here. Let me open this guy real quick. What is this? Yeah, okay, hold on. Enchant creature card in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices. Enchanted creature gets -1/-0. Is this just entirely to just monster reborn a monster? Like, is that
pretty much
to reanimate a creature with an aura instead of a normal thing?
right? So the whole, so it's more like what's the trap card? Like Call of the Haunted is like, yeah, like pull a monster out and attach this card to it. So like this is their way of doing that, is to change the text on the card.
Basically, in an effort to rewrite, because this is like an alpha card or something. But in an effort to rewrite the card to abide by their more uniform rule system later on in the game's life, they had to turn it into this.
Wow.
Because
well, so
like,
it wasn't that before.
Because the original version just said like, take the creature and put it onto the battlefield. It can be killed as normal.
Oh, I see.
The original Animate Dead reads, any creature in either player's graveyard comes into play on your side with -1 to its original power. If this enchantment is removed or at end of game, target creature is returned to its
end of game.
Yeah, no. If this enchantment is removed or at end of game, target creature is returned to its owner's graveyard. Target creature may be killed as normal.
Why does it say were they worried about people like stealing cards? Like,
Yes,
well, the
they're just
card
making
says
sure
I
that you
own
don't
it now.
steal people's shit.
That was back when Ante was
That
a
was the
thing.
90s, bro. That was back when there was a
about
mechanic that
Ante.
let you steal your opponent's
Yeah.
shit.
That's funny.
Yep.
Anyway, here's Gleemax. He costs
Yep.
1 million manas.
That's
is
fucked up.
really powerful. I think this card's probably good because any card that costs that much has to be really good, right?
Nope. Can't.
Is this the
Man.
card that costs the most in Magic, including the uncards?
Does Infinity Elemental have an infinity symbol in its mana cost?
Oh, it must. It must.
I'm guessing that's another uncard.
Of
No,
course
it
is.
actually doesn't.
Wait,
It's
it's a
actually
real.
a 4 and a 3.
It costs 8. It costs 7 mana.
All right, 1 million mana is the number one. Has this ever been used?
Damn.
This is not a legal card. This is from a joke set.
Note the silver border. This is some joke shit.
They make
They
joke
made a
cards.
few joke sets.
And then they
and,
made joke sets, but you can use them until they said you can't use them anymore because nobody likes them. I know about stickers.
Good old stickers.
You know what's great in a card game is when I have to peel little stickers off and stick them to my cards to play with
Put
them.
them on my mind goblin.
Stickers are so stupid, they do a completely different thing on Magic Online. Like Mind
just don't even
Goblin
bother?
has different text.
Yeah.
They don't even fuck around with the sticker bullshit. I think they just make you roll a dice. Like, so dumb.
Well, that's the episode. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Say bye-bye, everybody.
Hell yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait, I guess before I go, might as well see if anybody else is going. Might do a raids. Let's see. Oh, no, wait, that's just a 24/7 stream. Hey, you know what? How about we raid this guy? You guys want to see some Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh, baby.
Playing some Master Duel. I don't know.
Me?
I don't know what he's
Gongaga.
doing, but he's playing some Master Duel. I'm gonna go check them out.
Hell yeah.
So thanks again. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, like I said, and see you guys next episode. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.